What's up, everybody, and welcome to GameFace, episode 435 on Sifted Games at sifted.net. I'm Shane Satterfield, your host for the next couple hours of awesome video game discussion. Alongside me to do that is my good bud, Matt Keil. How's it going, Matt?
Couple hours.
Yeah, you know. Más o menos. How are you doing?
All right.
Did you have a good Memorial Day weekend?
Yeah, not much happened.
No?
I went to a board game convention briefly. There's only so much of that I can take.
How was that?
It was fine.
Was it what people would expect it to be?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes you have those moments where you go. Cause I'm relatively new to that hobby, but sometimes, and part of my reticence was like, I don't really want to. I don't know. Like I don't want to get involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get mixed up in it.
But I did. I get my friends to play. Most of my friends are pretty open to playing whatever. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'll go to this and see some new things. I was mainly going because they were having hourly demonstrations of Artemis, the Bridge Simulator, which is a Star Trek alike like simulator.
Like
thing.
Bridge Crew, basically.
Sort of, yeah. Bridge Crew, I think, was based somewhat on it. Because this game's like 10 years old.
Oh, so it's older than Bridge Crew.
It's been around for a long
I didn't know that,
time.
actually.
Oh, yeah. I tried to get a demo of it together for when I was on X-Play. That's how old it is. But basically, it's like it's for 6 players ostensibly. There's a captain. Everything hooks into a server, which is like projected onto the screen, or you have a main screen, and then the 5 other stations, which I think are helm, tactical, weapons, communications, and engineering, all have their own stations. So it's like Bridge Crew. You're all of your own little thing, but the mini games on
they have their own like PC or
the
tablet.
stations on this are way more involved.
Yeah,
like the communications officer has to literally monitor all the communication of every ship in the sector.
Wow,
and figure out which ones are doing weird stuff and tell the captain like, hey, this thing's going on over here.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. And like the tactical has to figure out the shield frequency of any of the enemies and tell the weapons guy, so the weapons person can change the frequency of the phasers.
It's like really flying a ship.
Oh yeah, it's a lot. Lot's happening. A lot's happening.
It's awesome.
And, I was just looking. I want to set that up for some of my friends because I got some hardcore Star Trek fan friends who would definitely like it, and one of them has an apartment for it because he's got a huge projection screen that would work for the Star Trek
That's
main
perfect.
screen. And I'm just trying to figure. Okay, I need this and that. The big problem is it turned out that apparently they stopped app support. For a long time, like any version could talk to any version, and now I guess like if you want the current version, it all has to be like a Windows platform talking to Windows platforms, which I don't have a lot of Windows platforms, so I would have to have people bring their laptops, or get some cheap Dell touch screens or something. No, it was pretty cool. I thought it's impressive stuff if you have the people and the hardware for it, and then played a couple of board game things, which is it's just. I don't know. I don't want to be a dick, but every once in a while you're like, I don't want to hang out with these people that I met there. It's just I was like, oh, maybe I'll run into some people that I could like play regularly, like just like that could be our group, or even if you're not playing at someone's house, you go to like a
gaming friends,
store, or things like that. And it's just not really. Not really.
Didn't make any connections there, Kyle.
No sparks, as they say. Yeah, I don't
Can't say I'm too surprised to hear that, but
yeah, I don't know. And every once in a while, I have that thing where I'm just like, is this what I am? Is this
like, that moment of self-reflection?
Like, is this? There's no one, because no one's treating me weird.
Right.
It's like, okay, anyone's weird with me, or it's like, what is this guy doing?
You're not, by the way, just to let you know.
It was just like, I don't know. These people are fucking strange.
Yeah, it takes all kinds. That's what I like to say.
Not bad, like not mean. Like they weren't like mean or nasty or
just a little odd.
Just odd in a way that I'm just like, I don't want to. I don't
need this. Yeah, I hear you. Well, welcome to GameFace, episode 435.
The only other group of people I've run into that much kind of that reaction I have to them is musicians.
Yeah. You have to be.
So it's not like just like a nerd thing. It's like a
focus thing.
Yes, a focus thing. I was exactly about to say focus.
What's up, girl? She just ran onto this. She knows when the show starts. The tone of the voice changes, and here she is for her close-up.
I think she understands Mike's coming up. Because then she starts making noise.
She actually starts meowing when I say Mike's coming up almost every time. It's really funny. Can you guys hear her like through the mics before the actual show starts? She always starts meowing when I'm about to start the show. It's really crazy. How are you guys doing? Here we are on a Wednesday for GameFace because we just had the long Memorial Day weekend here in the U.S. I hope all you guys had a restful Memorial Day weekend. People, I think, always forget Memorial Day is where we honor the people who have passed.
Yeah.
People,
well, you'd think that the word memorial would,
but people never get it. They think it's Veterans Day,
no,
and they're out there thanking
no,
just veterans.
That's
and,
veterans,
right? It's Veterans Day.
That's for veterans.
Yeah.
What do veterans get a month? May.
Yeah,
May is Veterans Month.
They get their.
That's May is Military Services Month. Like they
Yeah.
have, and then November is Veterans Month. Like they have 2 months.
Right. Yeah.
Like we did. They just don't give a shit to even know that.
Yeah.
Just people too busy complaining about other things.
Well, people, there's big stuff coming up real soon. For example, our 10th anniversary, SIFTD's 10th anniversary, is coming up next Thursday. And Matt, if it works for you, I think we're just going to do the next show on Thursday, on the day. Mm-hmm. Does that work all right for you?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So next week's show is going to be on a different day as well. It's going to be on Thursday. It's also going to be a bit of a different episode of GameFace. We're going to reminisce about the last 10 years, maybe some other surprises and things like that. We'll probably tackle a couple games and do kind of a normal episode along the way as well. And I'll announce this on next Thursday. Then on Saturday, I'm going to do a live stream for just the 10th anniversary. And I'm not going to divulge what's going to be with that yet, but it's going to be separate from what Matt and I do to celebrate the 10th anniversary. It's going to last like all day, I guess, is the only hit that I'm going to give you. So anyway, we're going to blow out our 10th anniversary about as big as we can, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. I mean, it really is crazy. It's been a decade that we've been doing this. It's just nuts.
And GTA 6 still isn't out.
It's a good point. So anyway, just something to keep in mind. The show will be next Thursday, not Tuesday or Wednesday, but next Thursday, and then another stream on Saturday. And then it's not E3 2025 or Summer Game Fest or whatever you want to call it.
That would be an interesting... I mean, I don't know how you'd do that, but I'd love to know the first time GTA 6 was ever mentioned.
On our show. I don't know if I can find that.
That would be very hard
Maybe.
to find.
I might be able to... It depends on how well I tagged the early episodes to games and when I created the game page for Grand Theft Auto 6. So anyway, I'm trying to like find all this stuff. You have other stuff that you might want to bring up next Thursday? Let me know.
I just love the long term stuff.
Yeah.
Like when I would love to know the first time or how many times we brought up Star Citizen,
which also still isn't out.
And finally might have crossed the line.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw.
Yeah, we talked about it last week actually.
But like, and then what is there? I don't know. I'm just interested in stuff that just doesn't, Metroid Prime 4 has been most of the run of the show.
We talked about that. I'm hoping to be able to dig up some fun stats from the website as well. There's a bunch of stuff that I'm working on. But anyway, most of it's going to remain a surprise until next Thursday gets here and then Saturday. But then after that, it's like E3's here. So it's just the next few weeks are just going to be awesome. Full of awesome games, reasons to celebrate, a good time. There's
got to be a Marvel vs. Capcom coming, right?
You'd think.
The license has been renewed for that collection. You wouldn't renew a license just for that collection.
Yeah.
They're about to announce, I think tomorrow, they're announcing leaks. Tomorrow they're going to announce Marvel vs. Capcom figures for the Marvel Legends series.
Yeah.
Just the Marvel guys, not the Capcom guys. They're a different license. But it really feels like they're warming up to something here.
I mean, Resident Evil 9 should be shown in the next few weeks.
I've seen either MVC4 or there's going to be Marvel characters in Street Fighter 6.
Oh.
One or the other.
Yeah. Either is awesome.
You could do that.
Yeah.
You could put some of the less crazy characters in there.
You could, definitely.
You could put a Nick Fury or even Cyclops.
Yeah, you have to be careful. Like people that fly would probably be.
Yeah, you can't put Storm in. You could put more of the like a grounded, like a Black Widow or
people who fight with their fists.
One of the Shield people.
Speaking of superheroes, by the way,
you have 3 people that use weapons in that game,
right?
So Vega can fit.
No, yeah, he would fit perfectly. He'd be great.
Yeah. Wolverine.
Yeah, I mean he is kind of Vega, isn't he?
A little bit.
Very similar. So anyway,
less pretty.
Right. Speaking of superheroes, right before we started the show today, EA has announced that it has canceled the Black Panther game that it's been working on. Why do you think that is? What did it say? What was the reasoning behind it?
It was a lot of corporate speak bullshit, but there was a vague thing about moving away from licensed IP, which is weird because first off, your whole business is based on 2 IPs you don't own, which is Football Club and Madden,
right?
And the only other licensed IP I can really think of that they have is the Star Wars, which they don't have exclusively anymore. And if you cancel Jedi 3, you're not going to like the outcome.
But by EA's logic, it should, because it's a licensed game, and that's not what EA wants to do anymore.
But it's also also the other two have sold extremely well, so you probably don't want to do that. Also, Jedi 3 stars a white guy.
Oh, yeah.
Which I feel probably has something
might have at least a little bit to do with it.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
It's pretty disappointing to hear this from EA, honestly.
Yeah, I was looking. I mean, any kind of open world or action-y kind of Marvel thing, like I feel like we're very starved for Marvel games.
I agree.
It's so weird how little video game tie-in has happened with Marvel.
It really is
in the
sad.
rise of the MCU. Like it's been. I mean, people forget. Like when Secret Wars comes out, which it looks like it's been pushed again.
Oh.
They just pushed.
Oh, actually, I saw that.
They pushed that again,
and
so they're gonna. That's gonna. I think they have it in December 27 now. My guess is that's gonna slip again.
Wow.
My guess is that because Christmas is a weird time to put an Avengers movie out. Their proven time is May.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably they're gonna slip again because buying yourself 6 months isn't really that useful.
Yeah.
So I think maybe it slips again. At any rate, if it does come out when it's supposed to in 2027. It will have been the same amount of time from Iron Man 1 to Secret Wars as it was between Iron Man 1 and the 89 Batman movie.
Wow.
That's how long we've been doing this.
Jeez.
And I can count the number of Marvel games on like 2 hands.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
It really is crazy. And completely misrepresented.
And everything. I mean, it's not just Marvel. I saw, like, Reset Era had a thread this week that was like, do you think the new Superman movie is going to finally smash the myth that Superman's too powerful for video games? And I'm like, probably not, because there's no fucking video game for it.
Also, are they changing his powers for the movie?
No, he just gets beat up a lot in this one. Like,
in the trailers, they do show him, like, taking damage.
He's fighting God-level shit in this.
Yeah.
Also, the other thing I love is they put out a commercial for some of the toys this week that James Gunn actually, and they have a kaiju. It's like a big monster that he fights in the movie, and in the figure, you have him punch the jaw, and the figure like is spring loaded, so it goes like this, and the chest and like torso open, and like blue slime flows out.
That's awesome.
And it's just so cool to see slime back after all this time.
It's been a long
everything
time.
used to have slime.
Everything,
and
yeah.
now it's like, oh, cool. Like, this is slime coming out of the kaiju.
Yeah.
But it's just so weird that like the video game tie-ins have just. I mean, they even had a winning formula with Batman, and they let that slip out of their grasp too. It's weird how hard it is to get a decent comic book video game.
It is. Yep. Well, let's check in with you guys and see what you guys are up to. See how your week's been going. Let me scroll up here. Oh, we got a hype chest already? Are you kidding me? Wow. Thanks, guys. That's freaking awesome.
That's actually a pretty good emote.
Yeah, it is. It's a cool
cat.
one. Yeah. Let me share that. There you go. Choo choo. Thanks, guys and girls. Finish Elden Ring, Swan Senpai. I have not finished Elden Ring. Retro Modern Gamer says, also fine when Switch 2 was rumored and Metroid Prime 4 was announced. Yeah, I'll be digging through all this kind of stuff to try to find some...
Metroid Prime 4 was pretty early in the Switch's life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was.
We've been waiting a long time.
We have, yeah, for sure.
Wasn't that like in the first round of like, not the Switch launch stuff, but it was like that first round of like Switch announcements after it came
I
out?
think so. Once all kind of the launch window stuff had gotten out. Yeah. Glottis21, thank you for Twitch Prime. That's awesome. Andy T. Monahan saying evening. He must be in Europe because it's still early here. David5807, thank you for Twitch Prime. And Nightwing 3060 says that he actually closed the studio that was creating the Black Panther game, which actually maybe makes me think that maybe it wasn't as DEI related if they closed the studio.
Maybe, but it's
maybe
also
the game just wasn't coming together.
Maybe, but it's also like, how does that not come together? It's a guy beating up other people.
It's not hard.
In a suit.
Maybe the studio was that bad.
Like
though.
Again, the fisticuffs based character superhero is solved. It's Batman.
Yeah.
Just make Arkham.
No,
Just do Black Panther Arkham.
No one's gonna complain.
Everyone's gonna be fine with Black Panther.
Go ahead and copy it.
He does a bunch of cool shit, flips around a bunch, and every time he builds up the thing in the suit, he can shoot out like a pulse that knocks everybody over.
Cool.
Done.
It's not that complicated.
Awesome.
Yeah. Minority Games, thank you for subscribing.
Maybe let me play as a Koye for a while. Like I'm in. I'm in.
All the better. Polak, your first time chat. I find that hard to believe. Did you create a new Twitch account maybe? Because you've definitely been on our streams before. Not Cirque, thank you for Twitch Prime. Who else we got in here? Vincent says, making sure you saw the news. Yep, we did see that. When I went to send out the tweet to tell all y'all to come into our stream, the top story on Twitter was the cancellation of the game. Chainsaw Illy 666. I think I got that right.
Chainsaw Willy.
Willy. That's a good name too.
I think the W is doing double duty. Duty there.
Yep. Thank you for Twitch Prime. Monkeys on a Rope. Thank you. Eric the Truth. Thank you. And I think that's it for today. Yeah, this is a Thursday. We normally don't do shows on Thursday. I'll be surprised if anybody shows up. Surf Spider, thank you for Twitch Prime.
It's Wednesday.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, there you go. There you go. I'm in another planet. AJ the Legend says, will this be the worst Nintendo launch lineup in history? We kind of talked about this already, I think.
Yeah, we did.
And I think we compared it to like the N64, which had
I compared it to the Dreamcast in Japan.
Yeah. I mean, it is one of the worst.
Not good.
Yeah, I mean, it probably is the worst Nintendo launch lineup. Because, I mean, really all there is Mario Kart.
I think it's the
World.
worst launch lineup I've ever seen.
For any platform.
In a US
yeah.
launch.
I mean, there's 20 games, but if you've owned a PS5 or an Xbox...
Yeah, that's the thing that's hard to parse is like, there's a lot of great games in the launch lineup, but I played them all literally years ago on other platforms.
Like there's a couple like Split Fiction and stuff like that. It has a little more value, but
I've
still.
already played that.
Me too.
The only new game in there that is of any interest is Mario Kart, and I'm not even particularly interested in Mario Kart.
Yeah.
I did see I saw a fun comic where it was a guy. It's a guy like at the store, and the Switch 2 is there, and he's like, "Oh, the Switch 2." Like, there's nothing in the launch lineup that I really want to play, but it would be the first time since I was a kid that I didn't buy a game console on the day it launched. Mm-hmm. And a little angel appears over his shoulder. And it's like, no, you don't have to be a consumer. Don't give in to like materialistic da da da. And then the devil appears in like bondage gear on his and is like, Nintendo's for babies. Like, don't do that. And like the angel and the demon are like, is this the first time we've ever agreed on anything? And then you just start making out. And the guy's like, so should I buy the Switch too, or? And that's it. Like that's the whole.
That's
comic.
Funny.
And
that's
it's like even like these comics that have nothing to do, and that's not a gaming comic. It's just like a random.
It's a normal comic.
Generally, it's actually a political comic.
No.
But apparently, the man is going through some dilemma on
this.
So.
Like a lot of people.
The only unrealistic part of it, I think, was that he was looking at the Switch 2 just sitting on a shelf, like available to buy. Right. Yeah. And I was like, no, I don't think that's going to be a problem for it. I know they said you'll be able to walk into a store and buy one, but I'm not sure I really believe that.
Retro Modern Gamer going to cover the Mind's Eye gameplay trailer. We're going to cover Mind's Eye today, but not for the gameplay trailer. ETH Demon, not important, but Expedition 33 sold 3.3 million units in 33 days. Like the perfect numbers there. Lynn Jeff 99, thank you for Twitch Prime. Sleeping Turtle 3, thank you for Twitch Prime. Sifted is number 1. Thank you. Appreciate that. I appreciate any of you guys showing up today. Obviously, normally this is not when we're streaming. I didn't know if anyone would show up today, so thanks to anyone who made it into our chat. We really appreciate it.
€75 for Cyberpunk on Switch 2? Damn.
Is that true?
That's what Swan Senpai says.
I missed it. Oh, there it is. I didn't see that at all.
I mean, the price in Europe is probably different than what we're... I mean,
right. Well, Nintendo wants. Is it Nintendo wants, or is it that CD Projekt Red wants? Because the other thing, too, is if CD Projekt Red is going to put out a cart that actually has the data on the cart, which is a big thing right now that people are talking about.
There's no way you can fit that on there.
I wouldn't. I think they're just doing it to pacify people. Mm-hmm. So they'll have the base on there knowing there's going to be a huge day one patch for people to download or whatever, but it gets you past like the angry
least,
people.
I would think you couldn't fit the base game and Phantom Liberty.
No way.
Even on the big cartridge.
No, but I think they'll try to fit as much as they can, and that cart is going to cost more. And so I don't know if CD Projekt Red is trying to pass on those extra costs or if it's Nintendo. I don't know. We may never figure that out.
That's how the cartridges used to be. Mm-hmm. That's why Chrono Trigger was $90.
Yeah. That's why N64 games that were bigger were more expensive. Resident Evil 2 because it had the bigger cart.
I remember buying Killer Instinct Gold at launch for $79.99.
Yeah. Vincent says it just barely fits on the 64 gigabyte cart. Yeah. I mean, it probably doesn't, actually. I mean, I think Cyberpunk 2077, last time I checked on PS5, is like 120 gigs or something.
I don't remember. I know it's over 100 on my PC.
Yeah.
Certainly with the Phantom Liberty thing, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's always been huge. I mean, you could probably compress it more. And you're probably not using the textures of the same resolution that I have on the PC.
Right.
So it might fit.
It might be a little smaller.
But I bet it doesn't have Phantom Liberty included.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah,
that you still have to download that separately, I would think.
I'm like 99.9% sure that's going to be the case.
Unless they've come. I mean, Nintendo has historically had some pretty damn impressive compression things.
Yeah. Because Switch games are like 4 or 5 gigs.
Oh yeah. Well, even that goes
really
way
crazy.
back. I remember Angel Studios figuring out ways to like compress video on the N64.
Right.
Like Resident Evil, they got Resident Evil 2 with all the cinematics and stuff.
And even still, that cart was still expensive.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was like a bigger gigabit cart than like any other N64
but it was
cart.
like it was one of those things where it was like everyone said it couldn't be done, and that's why Angel Studios got brought into the fold.
Yeah, that's why they became a second party studio. Yep. So anyway, that's kind of our housekeeping. Although Matt and I have both played a couple games that didn't find slots inside today's show that I want to talk about very quickly here, kind of in housekeeping. The first one I'm going to talk about that I played is a game called Splitgate 2. It is a first-person shooter that uses the same technology as Portal. You can.
I kept confusing this with Fair Games for a long time.
Well, this is just a multiplayer game. Like, most of the modes are 4v4, but there's modes that are like 8v8. There's another mode that has 3 teams of 8. But it is a sci-fi competitive first-person shooter. It has pretty much all the modes that you'd expect. There was a beta that went on this weekend, and I played it a bunch, and Matt, the stats were broken in the beta. So you could not progress through anything. Like, you couldn't check out the pass. You couldn't check out anything. Like, I couldn't unlock new weapons. Like, it would work every once in a while, but it was just a problem. Like, the servers were down a lot of the weekend. And I'll just be honest with you. Look, I played it, and regardless of what the progression is like, I just really honestly did not like the game at all. It is just completely forgettable. I don't know who thought in today's era of the hero shooter era and Marvel Rivals and all these successful shooters, why you would create a shooter that has the most generic-looking characters you've ever seen. You can't tell the difference between any of them. I don't know what they were thinking. Like, the concepts behind the game sound cool. Like, you can see in the trailer here, there are portals that you can create on your own and then jump through them and materialize somewhere else. But, like, nobody uses them. Basically, what they're used for is you put a portal behind the capture point so you can warp in behind the capture point whenever you want. Otherwise, no one uses them because it's too awkward. So you have to put 2 down. You have to put the entry point and the exit point. And while you're doing that, you're just getting shot. So it ended up, to me, playing just like most other shooters with the same modes and things like that. Hardly anyone ever really used the portal stuff. And it was just so generic. The characters don't resonate. Like, the funny part is the splash screen for this game shows a character with their helmet off. You never see a character with their helmet off while you're actually playing the game. So I was really disappointed in this. I probably didn't need to spend more than the time I just spent on it to talk to you guys about it. It just feels very generic sci-fi. It is well built and well created. Like, the net code is good as far as lag and things like that are concerned. The guns felt good to use, but there's just like nothing about it that makes it stand out other than the portals. And I just think most people won't even use them when they play it. So I was really disappointed in that. And then Matt, you got a chance to play Blades of Fire, which I talked about last week. Anything about that I said last week that you were maybe feel differently about or disagree with, or any thoughts that you had on the game?
Not really. It's, pretty much more or less what you said. Took me a little while to get my head around the combat because it wants different things from you than, and I didn't realize until about an hour in how important power attacks are.
Yeah,
like, that is your bread and butter.
Oh
really,
yeah,
is the
because it takes huge chunks of health.
Hold the button down thing, and that it gives you the. Also, like, and I'm not, I'm a sword person. I like to. But, man, the spear is the best weapon in this game by about a light year.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean that in terms of your reach, about how far you can stab shit. Like, those big warmonger guys in the huge, like space marine armor.
Yeah.
Just whip out the spear and aim at their head and poke them in the face 4 times and they're dead. Like,
the enemy AI was one of the big disappointments in this. I mentioned it last week how you could cheese most enemies.
Yeah, they're very dumb. I mean, some of that's fun. Some of it makes like doing it with the zombies makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, just like
because they're zombies.
The zombies are basically there to just have fun with.
They're fodder.
Basically.
Yeah.
There's like the level design is very clever. It all wraps back around itself like really impressively. I just like Dark Souls, there've been a couple times when I came around something, I'm like, oh, that's here. Okay, that's interesting. Like that's cool. It just disappeared into the wall. There's a lot of that.
There's little bugs.
It's very janky. You're definitely right that there's too many humanoids. I mean, you just don't fight weird shit often enough.
Yeah.
And even when you do, it's like, oh my god, that elemental came out of the mud and it's formed out of like water. It's like, no, it's still just a person.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have legs.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Because the attack system requires you to be able to hit the sides, the legs, and the head.
Yep.
And so everything kind of needs to have that. It really is just changes like whether you, okay, so he doesn't have a face, so I can't stab him in the face, so I'm going to hit him with the hammer.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is pretty good. It's not amazing, but it is like, I saw someone say that it feels like that this game would have been made for the 360 in a lot of ways. And that's not really a negative thing.
I mean, it's based on a game for the 360 and PS3.
Yeah, I can't find anything about that. Like, I looked that up and I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm just saying it looks and plays similarly to those Castlevania games. And it probably is. I mean, I think this is the 6th iteration of this engine. So it's definitely the same engine that they started working on the Castlevania games with back in the day.
Yeah, it doesn't play too much like Castlevania, except it does use the thing where you hold the button to do a stronger attack. He also looks like a more grizzled version of Gabriel Belmont. Like that really does look like Gabriel Belmont's like retired brother.
And later on, you start fighting skeletons and stuff like that. There's some
just
connective
no whip.
tissue.
Like,
right.
Like you can't forge a whip.
Yeah.
So I guess you can't.
Because all you need is wood and a rope. That's it.
Yeah, and there's just like a bunch. Like some of the weapons feel useless. Like I'm like, why would I ever use twin daggers?
Yeah.
In a game with no stealth system, like I know they're faster and the double axes. Do you like to? It just, I'm like, yeah, but I could just cut their heads off.
Right.
Like with one. Yeah. So and it's interesting. It's I don't know if I'd say spend $60 on it.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Definitely play the demo and see how you feel about it. There's some cool imagination in it. Like there's the Baba Yaga character who you think is, oh, okay, he's gonna be the hut with legs, but no, it's a hut that's a scarab beetle and it flies away. I'm like, okay, that's different. I'll give you that. There's a lot of interesting like visual imagination in it. I actually really like that the kid like sketches things.
Yeah,
and
it's hilarious.
And you can you look at the thing and you get to watch the sketch form.
Yeah,
It's pretty cool. And some of the tips actually are useful. Like some of the things he writes in the notes are like, oh, that isn't. I didn't
notice that. Yeah, for sure. 505 set this game out to die though. Like there's no marketing, no promotion.
I didn't even know it was coming. It was out. I mean, I think I'd seen something about it at some point, but I didn't know there was even a demo until you said something last week.
It could have a lot more buzz than it has right now.
There's no reason this couldn't be success. I mean, it is like a more arcadey take on the Souls thing.
Yeah.
And I hate weapon degradation and stuff, and this is not actually that bad.
It's not that bad. It didn't bother me that much.
As long as you understand the forging thing and get 4 stars on everything, or more if you upgrade that.
Yeah.
So you can, repair the weapon
4 times. That's like 2 hours of gameplay with the same weapon. Like I'm cool with that.
I do think they need to, as you go further, I think they do need to rebalance the cost of repairing some of these things, because the higher rarity weapons, like. I have a weapon that I can't use right now because to repair it I need like 100 of the cursed eyes, and I found like 40 cursed eyes in the whole fucking game.
Yeah, there aren't many. Yeah,
and so I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I know there's things you can do that get you like big cursed eye rewards, but like I need that weapon to do that. Like it just the economy seems a little wonky further into the game, but I still played it for as long as I did. Like it's
I enjoyed the game.
Yeah.
But it's so far under the radar. No one's like paying any attention to it.
I also appreciate that it doesn't just tell you everything.
Right.
Like I mean, not in the gameplay, but I mean like the world is like you say, like all the steel's been turned to stone, but to figure that out, you have to pay attention to what people are saying. Like none of the characters have a moment where they turn to you and it's like, as you know, all the steel in the kingdom has been turned into stone, and no one can have a weapon anymore. Like it's just like everyone just kind of makes it's like you find like a weird rock thing, and he's like, "What is this?" And the kid's like, well, it's forged, so it must have been steel at some point, but now it's petrified.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like so all the steel in the world has been petrified. Like
to your point, his notebook does include stuff in it too that I did not pick up on. Yeah, so his notebook is actually helpful.
There's a lot of world building in it.
And it is hilarious as he's running around and is writing in his notebook as you're slaughtering people and blood's flying everywhere.
And it's funny how like early on there sometimes he can be really antagonistic towards the kid.
Yeah.
And sometimes he's really supportive to the kid. Like sometimes it's just like
I mean, it's the whole God of War thing, really.
It's like, it's like, I just made a new sketch, and he's just like, I'll have to look at it later. Yeah. Like busy right now. And like sometimes he's like, I've made a new sketch. He's like, you're great at sketching. I'm looking forward to seeing it. It's just like, okay, are you his dad or his asshole uncle? Like we're gonna have to pick one, dude.
Actually, neither.
And then this is interesting.
The whole
way this works.
Yeah, it took me a while to figure out what they were asking from me, though.
I got it on the first try. And then,
oh, really?
Yeah.
You got like more than 2 stars on your first one?
4. Yeah.
Wow,
I've
that's
never
great.
gotten less than 4.
Wow.
But the thing is, when I went to, because eventually my spear was out of, you can't repair it anymore, and I didn't realize. I'm like, oh, you can just you can just use your previous highest star rating, and you don't ever need to do that again until you upgrade your stars to like get the 5th one.
The crafting system in this is really good. Yeah,
very smooth.
They really thought it through. Yep.
I do think the because you can do those little statues if you have the weapon, it like disappears and gives you new options. Yep. I feel like all the options are kind of dumb.
Yeah,
like they feel like very minor tweaks, or like they're just trade-offs that are not remotely worth it. It's like oh, you can get 20 more attack, but it's gonna have half its endurance, half the endurance, and it's gonna take way more stamina to swing it. And I'm like, well, then I don't want it, because I'm going to do more damage in 2 swings in that amount of time than I'm gonna do in 1 swing for double the time. Like it doesn't make any sense. So I think really the main issue I have with it is I think they probably need to really kind of look at the rebalancing of the economy of the forging system. Not the forging, like the weapons you make are great, like that all works really well. I think they need to really look on what it costs to do things and whether or not that makes sense given what you find in the game.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'm pretty impressed by it. It for something that came out of nowhere basically, and is pretty different. It's pretty different from making Metroid remakes and Dread.
It's good to see them stretch their legs a little bit. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen with this game. No one's really talking about it, but us. It feels like it really feels like we're the only people on Earth playing this game.
Yeah.
No one's talking about it. I'm not seeing any chatter about it online. It's just kind of came and went like a ghost.
And like you say, it's huge.
It's gigantic.
It just doesn't like. There's a point at which I'm just like, okay, I got to be almost halfway through this thing, right? I finally went through all this stuff, and I found this fortress, and I fought a necromancer, and it's like that's the end of Act 1.
Yeah, buckle up.
Like, you've got like 4 more areas to get through, and it's like, what the fuck? Holy shit!
They probably would have done better to like make it half the size and get it out 3 years ago.
It's a lot of game.
Yeah, it's a lot of game.
A lot of game.
Yep. So anyway, there you go. That's Blades of Fire. Wanted to follow up with Matt on that before. You guys all forgot about it. Erebus says it's almost the very definition of a wait for Game Pass title. 505 probably should have negotiated that game on Game Pass.
That would have been a good option.
Yeah, Erebus, you're right on the nose there.
Also, I did enjoy that right after the show ended, while the show was going on last week, Microsoft announced the numbers for Doom.
Oh, yeah, right. Because they're like, did it bomb? Nope.
No, well, it got 3 million players 7 times faster than Eternal did.
Yeah.
But I did see yesterday, was it Game Rant or something? Basically, they've only actually sold 1.2 million copies. The rest have all been Game Pass, which
that's
I feel
not surprising.
Like you're still making money somewhere.
Yeah.
So well, you're probably also what they want.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's probably ideal to still sell a good many on PlayStation and then have a bunch of people get Game Pass for it.
And I'd love to see more and more numbers like that, just so we could kind of formulate a theory,
on how this is all working.
Okay, so we say the total player, because a lot of time we get the player numbers and we don't get sales.
Right.
It's like, okay, if you kind of rule of thumb it, like if something's a big Game Pass game, you're talking about 2/3 Game Pass, 1/3 sales. Like that would be a useful metric to have if that actually holds true for anything.
Yeah,
on a regular
that's
basis.
what it sounds like.
Sorta, like
based on this data, anyway.
It's kind of what I would expect, but I don't know if that has any. If my expectations in that regard have any basis in reality.
Bottom line is still sold 1 million copies in a month.
Yeah.
That's freaking great. So
doing all right.
Yeah, long live id Software for sure.
Just keep doing those, because I had a good time.
Yep. And I think that's it for housekeeping. Swan Senpai says WWE has been full of Doom ads for a few weeks now. Yeah, I've seen ads for Doom on TV and on sports, like the NHL playoffs, and I've seen them. So they are actually marketing that game, which is how it sells 1 million in the first month or less. So, all right, let's move on. It's time to start the show proper. And I know you never suspected that this would be the first game that we would cover on this week's edition of GameFace. And I didn't think either until I started playing it. And there aren't many reviews out there for this game. It's called Game of Thrones Kingsroad. It is a free-to-play Game of Thrones action RPG. It's not really open world. It's kind of like God of War Ragnarok or God of War Reboot. It gives you the appearance of an open world game, but it's really not. And it is free to play. And I have to admit, like, they approach free to play way different with this than like they do for like Zenless Zone Zero and kind of those free to play action RPGs from Asia. they go about it in an entirely different way, and I'll get to how they monetize it in a minute. But the first thing I want to say when we start discussing this is, why has there never been a great Game of Thrones game?
Because the great thing about Game of Thrones, when it was great, was character-driven and political intrigue.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't really translate that very well to a game.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of fighting in the show, though.
Yeah, but, like, it's not very interesting.
Yeah, that's not the better part of the show, I guess. That is a good way to put it, I guess. Is that the best part of Game of Thrones is not what would make a video game great.
No.
Yeah. So...
I mean, really, the only way to make a really great Game of Thrones game is to come up with a really great medieval combat system and just set it in the Game of Thrones universe.
Yeah.
And people have trouble doing that anyway, let alone as part of a licensed game with a deadline.
Yeah. I would describe this as God of Thrones. It is really like they looked at God of War and they put the Game of Thrones kind of paint wrapper over top of the idea while making it a free-to-play game. There are 3 classes that you can choose to play, and it's just going to go through them right here. There's the Knight, which is who I chose. He's just kind of the generic sword and board guy. The guy on the left there, he's a sellsword, so he's kind of the heavy. And you can use the heavier and the bigger weapons for him, and you can choose whatever gender you want for each of these 3 classes. And then the third one is the assassin, so she uses like a dagger and she sneaks around, but you can do stealth. You can use any character for stealth in this. The character creation tool in this is insane. I mean, I didn't dive into it all that much because the pre-created ones I thought were pretty good, but you can literally adjust like the facial muscles on the characters in this. You can really create who you want. Now you're seeing the story. So you play as a bastard son, shocker, of House Tyree, and you are the last surviving heir of House Tyree. So you go to see your father, you get a message that he's not doing well, you go to visit him, he tells you, like, crap is going sideways, you need to head to Castle Black at once, people are dying, the White Walkers are heading for the wall right now, so you ride to Castle Black, you get there, sure enough, your dad is right, all hell is breaking loose. On your first mission, you go out to try to find Jon Snow. He had went to try to find a bunch of rangers and hasn't returned. And so they're like, we have a tip. We maybe kind of know where he is. Let's go out and try to find him. And that's how the thing starts. One of the things I will say is that a lot of times when there's Game of Thrones games or whatever, they don't feature the characters that you know and love from the show. This one does. Pretty much every main character is a character that you remember from the shows, you either loved or you hated or whatever, but this is a game based on the show. It's not based on the books. So you get the likenesses of all the characters from the show. However, I do not think that they have signed up the people to reprise their roles.
No, I would think not.
As far as voice actors are concerned, I'll say this, they're pretty close. They're pretty good, but they're not the exact voice actors.
Yeah, maybe some of them, but not the main.
Not the main ones.
People have other things to do.
Yep. And so your goal as a bastard son is to eventually take over the throne and become the king of House Tyree. You're obviously, as I mentioned, your father is ill and you're the last remaining heir. In order to prove to people that you're worthy of ascending to the throne, you have to go out into Westeros and save people, kill people, gather resources. Most of what you do to help ascend to the crown in this, or to the throne, are the side missions. And the side missions in this are pretty good. We'll get to that in a minute. This game starts off balls to the wall. It is amazing. The first hour and a half or 2 hours of this game are absolutely incredible. They are paced so well, and you have no idea that you're playing a free-to-play game. Like, you can play the first couple hours of this and never even know, they don't even bring up money. You can go in and look at the economy if you want, and you get a bunch of free stuff if you play it early. Like, you can go in and claim, like, I don't know, like, just all kinds of resources and weapons and gear and stuff like that just for, like, signing up and starting to play. You can play for the first couple hours, and it is just a really tight, well-paced action RPG where you kind of go out and you look for Jon Snow. Jon Snow finds you. You fight a couple iconic monsters from the franchise. You rub elbows with a couple people from the franchise that you know and love. And it is a very, very strong start. Then the game part has to kick in. And that's where I don't think that things change all that much. The combat in this is, you said you kind of needed some special combat thing to kind of set it off. It does not have that. It has basically the most generic action RPG combat system that you can have. You have light attacks, you have weak attacks, you can roll or you can dodge. There's a meter that builds up as you land blows that lets you do like your over-the-top like finishing moves or whatever. And that's pretty much the extent of it. It's very simple, but it's good. It's not bad, and it's not something that you don't want to play, but a lot like Blades of Fire, the enemy AI in this is also abysmal. That's what really kind of strikes me about games that were created for mobile first and then end up coming to console. This is only available, by the way, for PC and mobile, so PC, iOS, and Android. And eventually, I'm guessing it will probably come to consoles. They'd be idiots not to. But it feels like that's the one part that carries over from mobile games when they come to console or PC, is the combat is usually not that great. And usually the enemy AI is kind of a joke. And it's like that in this. They either run at you until you kill them, or you can just cheese them all day long. Just get into their range. They do their wind-up that takes 5 minutes. They miss, and then you jump in and hack them 4 or 5 times, roll away, rinse and repeat. You can do that with pretty much all the tough enemies in this game, which is important because dying is kind of how they make their money in this game. So I didn't die for forever in this game. It took me for a long time to even figure out, like, how am I going to pay to play this at all? But when you die, they give you an option. You can either walk all the way back from your last base that you were at, back to the point where you died, or you can pay money. So you can pay one amount of money to respawn immediately and get with like all your health refilled and stuff like that. And you can pay a lower amount to respawn with less. So it's a decision that you got to make. You're willing to pay money so you don't have to like run all the way back to the point where you died from the last fast travel point that you passed. That's how they make the money. To me, it doesn't seem that skeevy. It's a different way to do it for sure. But I didn't find it like intrusive or, I mean, I played this game for 3 or 4 hours. I never got to the point where I even had to think about giving it money. That's pretty good to me for a free-to-play game. Like, I did see one review where somebody just lambasted the game for asking for money. It's like, bro, they've got to make money. I think people lose sight a lot of times with free-to-play games that, like, yeah, it's free. Like, they didn't make this for free. They have to pay the people who worked on the game. They have to make money somehow. It also feels like we got to a place where just asking for money is bad. But how are they supposed to get paid? How are they supposed to make these games if they're not asking for money?
And you don't have to pay to respawn.
Nope.
Right? No,
you can run all the way back. And I will say this, like, there are some times where you get way far away from the last, like, fast travel point. And it is tempting. Because you're like, man, if I go back, it's probably going to take me 5 minutes to run back here.
So basically, it's like vanilla World of Warcraft.
Yeah, it is very similar.
We used to do that and pay for the privilege.
That's true. But, perspectives change, times change. Like, I get that part of it. But I don't feel like a lot of people who are reviewing this game are being fair with how it's being monetized. Look, I paid nothing. I got 4 hours of an awesome Game of Thrones game for nothing. Like, and then finally they're like, well, we got to pay our salaries, so this is how we're going to do it. And I didn't find it intrusive or anything. It's basically allowing you to pay for convenience. And I understand people are like, every other game, fast travel is just free. Well, every other game you pay money for the game. So there's different ways to do it. Like the other RPGs like Zenless Zone Zero and Honkai Star Rail, it feels like they must make most of their money off of cosmetics and stuff like that.
Cosmetics and character drops.
Yeah.
And stuff, yeah.
What do you think is the better approach?
I mean, it seems fine. I don't think I would ever pay to respawn if I can just run back.
And you don't have to. Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not going to play this, but like, seems fun. For something that feels pretty full fledged as a kind of B-lister, action RPG, seems like a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
But like, I will never touch a Game of Thrones thing again. So
just on principle.
Nope. Like, not after that final season. You never get you fool me once. Shame on me.
So as I mentioned, there are 3 classes. There's also a skill tree for each particular class. They're not gigantic or robust. They're pretty simple. And if I would compare them to like other action RPGs that you've paid $70 for, they definitely pale in comparison to those. But I don't know. This does kind of straddle the line between RPG and action adventure. The gear in this, you have a gear rating like Destiny. I think they call it momentum. So everything that you get in this game has a momentum rating, which is just another way of saying like level or whatever, or power or whatever you want to say. But it is very Destiny in that way, as far as like how the gear works, rating the gear, figuring out whether gear is something that you want to pick up or not. And as I said, the skill trees are kind of slimmed down. You can scan the environments, Matt, for loot and enemies. I've played this for probably 7 hours total, something like that. And there are definitely moments while you're playing this where you're like, I can't believe this is free. It is, there are points where it is that good. You're just like, damn, I can't believe they worked on this all this time and decided it was a good idea to give it away. There you can see there's a quick time event. Those don't happen all that often, so I wouldn't really say that the game or the combat is driven by quick time events all that much. One thing that's cool about the game, too, is that, like I said, there's 3 different classes. You can jump between classes whenever you want. You can go and choose another class and kind of start another character. And the best part about that in this game is that your characters share all the gear and all the stuff that in the loot that you've picked up. So your loot, your gear, the stuff that you've collected while playing the game is there as your inventory for every class that you use. So it gives you some flexibility. It makes the work that you've done in the past apply in the future if you want to try a different class, which I thought was a pretty cool idea. And then the other thing that I would say, Matt, about games that are mobile first and then come to console is a lot of times they're like MMOs. They have like cooldowns and bars that you're waiting to watch fill up. This game isn't like that at all. It is all real-time, active combat. And again, like as I mentioned earlier, you have all the typical elements of that: strong attack, weak attack, super attacks, dodging and rolling. I don't think there is a perfect dodge or roll in this, though, where you get kind of like that bullet time thing or anything like that. Like that's kind of one thing that it doesn't have that a lot of other games this one does. I talked about the AI of the enemies. I think it's terrible pretty much for like the boss fights almost became a joke after a while. It's like as long as you were patient, like you wouldn't even get hit. At least I wouldn't either. I also mentioned that the game has stealth. The stealth basically breaks the game if it wasn't already broken. Like, again, the enemy AI in this is its biggest problem. Whether you're fighting them or you're sneaking around trying to assassinate them, their awareness of you is just abysmal. That is something that they need to work on big time with this game, is the enemies and how they relate to and react to the player. And again, the free-to-play stuff didn't bother me all that much. You get a ton of free stuff just for playing. Now, the other thing I should have mentioned is when you do die, you have to, if you don't want to pay, you also have to wait 30 seconds before you can respawn. So they do tack on a little bit of a punishment there. I should have mentioned that before. But otherwise, that's pretty much how they make their money, is just figuring out what you want to do when you respawn. In some ways, you are paying to live, I guess, in its most literal sense.
So say we all.
Yeah, it's true.
So can you go all these places?
I have not played it far enough to go to all those places, but my guess is over time they're just going to keep releasing expansions and eventually you'll be able to go everywhere. That'd be my guess. I mean, I've already visited 6 iconic locations probably at this point. I guess that works out to about 1 per hour. But here you can see all this stuff that I'm just claiming for free. So when you start the game, there's just all this stuff. When you go into their whole system of paying for crap, there's just tons of free stuff that they just give you for trying out the game for the first time and playing. I didn't spend a lick of real money, and I had a great time with this game. I mean, isn't that kind of the idea of a free-to-play game? And what this has really done for me, Matt, is made me just wonder why there has not been like a Witcher 3 quality Game of Thrones game. I feel like that game would just sell through the frickin' roof.
Not anymore.
You really don't think so?
No.
I think it would still.
Game of Thrones I've rarely seen something be erased from the cultural zeitgeist the way Game of Thrones was. Mm-hmm. In fact, I think you would do better to call it House of the Dragon.
Really?
Yeah. House of the Dragon's still popular.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it doing well?
It's doing well. Yeah. I mean, it's going to get way more seasons than almost anything else.
Yeah.
I think it's dropped off a little in the last season, but what hasn't?
But here you can see all this gear. I never paid for any of this. This was all just stuff that I found and accumulated just playing the game. So, you know, a lot of games like this, they'll make you pay for a new sword that's more powerful because...
but eventually the things you find are not going to be powerful enough to get you further.
You're right.
Like, well, you're going to hit a curve. There's a curve.
No, I've hit that already. I've also hit the point where there aren't as much missions to play because the other part of this is what you do have to pay to open up new areas of the map, like big areas of the map. They do charge for that.
It seems that the monetization on this seems a little similar to Elder Scrolls Online.
Yeah,
like the main way they get money out of you is expanding the map.
Yeah, and that they do that with this. I mean, you play a lot before you get to the point where you have to expand out the map. But you can start figuring it out because it starts becoming harder to find missions. You stop getting drops that are worth equipping. So it does have a little bit of that free-to-play element that you expect from this. But, I mean, part of that you just can't really avoid. And as you can see, there's both melee and ranged combat. You get a crossbow that you can use. Here's the skill trees. As you can see, again, very simple. But there's just 3. There's one for attack, one for defense, and one for support. And that's pretty much it.
1%.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a little granular, but again, it's a free-to-play game. So
0.5%.
My guess would be eventually you can probably pay to upgrade your skill tree. And I don't care. It's a single-player game. So if you want to pay to have an awesome sword and walk through the rest of the game, who cares? You're not hurting anybody else. If it's going to make you enjoy the game or help you enjoy the game, go for it. Like, I don't give a crap. So... And again, here you're seeing all the free-to-play stuff, your login, your daily login bonus. It has a lot of the same stuff that you expect from other free-to-play games where you get bonuses and things like that, just for checking in every day.
Finish A Dream of Spring. He hasn't even finished Winds of Winter.
Yeah. I saw that he's starting to get pissed off about people asking him about the book.
Yeah, well, it's been 14
But
years.
it's like, bro, man, what... I think he's become deluded to believe that he's like become this like movie TV guy.
No, I think
he's an author.
I think he just doesn't care about writing anymore.
Because he has more money than he could ever spend.
And I would do exactly the same thing.
I probably would too.
Because what's the fucking upside? If he actually writes these books and puts them out, what's going to happen? He's going to get yelled at by nerds for the rest of his fucking life. Who needs that shit?
And the rest of his life could be like 3 years.
Yeah, so he can just go have fun and spend his money and go on cruises and go get recognized and sign autographs and like fucking have a good... I mean, he's been a writer his whole life. Like, enjoy it. You made it. You did it. Who cares?
Yeah.
Someone else... Brandon Sanderson will write the last year. Although, he gets mad when you suggest this too, but there's a part of me that kind of wonders if he's already written them.
And just hasn't...
And he's just like, don't release these until I'm dead because I don't want to deal with this bullshit.
the crap. That's possible. How far along did he say he was in the last book?
He kept saying he was almost done like 6 years ago.
Really?
Like he's been going... Every once in a while he does a whole thing. And now he's like, I don't know when it's going to be done. Last time it was a few months ago. He's like, I don't have a time frame for you.
How old is he now?
I don't know. 70s?
Yeah, he looks like he's in his 70s. I don't know.
He's been writing a long time. Everyone only knows him from Game of Thrones, but he's been writing since before we were alive.
Yeah, I'm sure. But anyway, you're getting the vibe of this. I mean, it is a little bit like Game of Thrones, Assassin's Creed with a coat of Game of Thrones paint. And I think for most people, that's pretty awesome. Like, I think a lot of people, that will resonate with a lot of people. And again, I would say that the weakest part of the game in general is the gameplay. Also, like, even using the crossbow, the aiming is a little jittery. I struggled to kind of get it really accurate. And again, here's a lot of the stealth stuff that I said kind of ruins the game because they're just not aware of you. You can be like 10 feet away and assassinate somebody, and the guy that's 10 feet away has no clue what happened. You can sneak up behind him and kill him too. I know that's a problem with a lot of stealth games. A lot of video games have that problem, but it's really pronounced in this. Like, it's just kind of right there. I mean, they're look, he's checking on that person, and then I kill somebody and never heard me murder someone 10 feet away, and I murder him. And it does kind of break the game at points. Any area that has any amount of cover, it makes it very easy. But again, I didn't really go through a lot of resistance with this game. I thought it was very easy. Even when you're fighting multiple people, I never found it to be much of a challenge. There is stamina in the game, but it never really bothered me all that much. Like, never really affected me too much. So I had a great time with this. It is free to play. You can go download this right now on PC or on iOS or Android, and I guarantee you'll play at least the first like 4 hours and not even think about the fact that it's a free to play game. You'll just be like, damn, why haven't we got a AAA Game of Thrones action RPG? Because this is close. Like, it's right there on the cusp of being really great. And I would be interested even to see what this game would be like if it just wasn't free to play and they charged $40 or $50 for it instead.
I think part of the problem is also, like, there's nothing you can really do of consequence in the world. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not like The Witcher where you can do like a big thing and like tell a big story that changes the course of this nation or that. Like, the story of Game of Thrones is set.
This
like,
is set during season 4, by the way.
You can basically never be an important person in these in a Game of Thrones.
Yeah, they're not going to
game.
let you.
Like, you'd have to break canon, and it sounds like they're not really down with that.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting, though, to kind of be on the outskirts of the stuff that happened in season 4, because they'll talk about stuff that you remember from the show that happened that season.
It just reminds me of the Lord of the Rings: The Third Age game, which might have been called Lord of the Rings: A Day Late and a Dollar Short, where it's just like you're sort of like following in the wake of the Fellowship and like cleaning up the shit that they didn't finish,
right?
And it's like. And there's a lot of stuff like, no, Gandalf's here, and he's certainly here and involved with you. And then it's like, okay, guys, like you're not fooling anybody.
They talk about him, but you never see him.
Like I know he's there. He fights. He shows up.
I never played that game.
It's literally Final Fantasy X, but with hose down and Lord of the Rings juice.
Yeah. But you can watch this little bit of fight footage here. Like they go through their animation routines and they don't really recognize what you're doing as the player.
Yeah. Or it's like. Yeah, Andy T. Monahan mentions War in the North. That's sort of the same thing. It's like, okay, we're gonna do a game about the War in the North, which is not really mentioned in the books at all because it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
Because until Frodo slam dunks the ring in the volcano, nobody's gonna win.
Yeah.
Like it's like there's not really anything you can do about it.
Yeah.
Luckily, the story of Lord of the Rings is an epic quest that you can kind of follow along with in terms of a dramatic thing for a video game. And it's finished.
Yeah.
So like that's a key.
Well, the other thing I should have mentioned too about momentum is that momentum is also used as a currency that does gatekeep some parts of the game. You have to keep an eye. You can't enter some fights and missions unless your momentum is at a certain level. And so you do start doing a little bit of digging, trying to figure out like what will maximize my momentum at a particular time, because you'll find stuff and pick up stuff that will give you a momentum boost just for like 2 minutes or whatever. And so what you need to do is use all that stuff, do all that stuff so your momentum peaks out, and then go in and try to attempt the mission. So there's a little bit of like a subsystems in the game, I guess is how I would put it. And you can see cinematics, they do this type of stuff. They do real-time in-engine cinematics. Generally, I think the craftsmanship in this game is pretty darn good. But I would like to see what a paid Game of Thrones action RPG would actually be like. I would still play it. I was disappointed in how they wrapped up the season, but I don't detest it, because I look at it like I got a good 10 years of awesome entertainment out of it before it kind of crapped the bed. So
the ending ruins the whole thing for me.
Yeah,
like I will never watch that show again.
Yeah.
Ever. Like because everything.
Because you know how it ends.
Well, because it's so character driven and it's so related. Like it's constantly building to what's happening next and what's coming later, and like. You're this person is this and all these things. I mean, that's the whole opening of the show is like the big puzzle box like fitting all together, and like that's the whole point. And in the end, it was like, why is Jon Snow resurrected in that show?
Yeah, because they felt like
to do nothing.
Oh, for a spin-off, that's why.
Well, no, he was resurrected because in the books, I'm sure he has some actual purpose
later on.
But the end of the show was written by 2 fucking hacks who don't understand how anything works and said that themes are for 8th grade book reports. So they wrote this garbage, and that's what happened. So apparently Jon Snow had to come back from the dead because of destiny and fate, so he could yell at a zombie ice dragon. because Arya is the one who did all the work.
Right.
So what
I think that
she didn't have anything to do with anything before that.
I thought they just brought him back so they could do the spin-off show.
No, the spin-off show was never a thing.
Really?
No, I mean, I'm sure he wanted it.
I thought I just saw that it was canceled for good like 2 months ago.
It was never.
Really?
Never in development. No.
Wow.
The people who want, he and all these people talked about it. Like it was definitely talked about, but it was never a real. That was being talked about like by the end of it. It was not. They did not resurrect him to do a spin-off of him.
Wow.
He is that is. I
didn't know that about.
He's still dead in the books where they left off, but I guarantee you he's come. It's all very implied he's back.
Well, yeah, he's back in the show.
Right, but that doesn't necessarily mean like what happens in the books.
I see what you're saying.
Gotcha. Like they're following the book outline for that. He wasn't brought back for a spin-off. He was brought back because in the actual story, the real story that George R.R. Martin is writing, he has a very important role to play in the big finale.
In the books.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
He just doesn't in the show.
Interesting.
Because it's garbage.
So I guess they did it in the show just in case they end up continuing the story later on.
Because they were still more or less following. I mean, from what I understand, the end of the show is following kind of the base skeleton of what happened. I mean, I think he gave them an outline of everything. So I assume there's like a list of things like, Dany destroys King's Landing and Jon Snow kills her to save the. But it's like I think a lot of the other details of that are bullshit made up by these 2 terrible writers who had never run a show or written anything before of any consequence.
It's really crazy that they would give a gig that big and important to people like that.
Those two guys have literally said that.
They're like, why did we get
They've
this
literally
job?
said we bluffed our way into this job and we can't believe it.
Wow.
Like, so it's just ridiculous.
Well, now we all believe it.
Danny kind of forgot about the Iron Fleet. Fuck you. It's so stupid.
Let's check in with you guys and see what you're saying.
If the books ever come out and they give you a better sort of finale, you'll be able to make a game that kind of follows the whole story and you switch between people and stuff. But, like, you can't do that with what was done in the show because, like, everyone knows that the last third of the game is just going to be infuriatingly stupid.
We got lots of comments here about Game of Thrones in general. Luke TG1 says the shot at the end where the wings are behind Danny is the worst shot in the history of shots. I hate it.
Well, then, like, you've got people, they got, like, these fucking randos on Twitter when that happened. It's like this is how cinematography is done. It's like, no, it's how fucking cartoons are done, you fucking simpleton dipshits. Like, what the hell?
Chillax Broseph says, also a great screen name, by the way. It says, Snow needed to bang his aunt. That was his purpose.
That's what we're all here for, really.
Noxator Knight says it all just happened too fast. Yeah.
Which is funny considering, like, they were willing to let him go years longer. Like, it feels like, please make this for as long as you want. And, like, no, we got to finish it up to go do our Star Wars movie. And as soon as Lucasfilm saw the last season, they're like, yeah, we aren't going to let you do that. You know, we're about to let Book of Boba Fett get made, but we're not going to let you make anything. Like, so that's where the standard was there.
Erebus Jones says, I think the problem with a game like this is made worse because it's a phone game. It's just the inescapable feeling it's going to screw over your wallet at some point, like an inescapable cloud on the horizon. I'd just rather never start it. I mean, I can understand a perspective if you're thinking to yourself, I want to finish this game. I think I've got to the point in my life where I just accept I'm not going to ever finish 80% of the games that I start. And so I kind of have shifted my perspective to, like, did I get entertainment out of this? And how much did I pay for it?
Yeah, I don't know. I was vaguely aware of this game, but I've seen it pop up and, like, the advertisements and stuff. And, like, A, Game of Thrones can go fuck itself. And B, as soon as I saw free to play, I'm like, nope.
I think a lot of people do that.
Like, that's it. Like, doesn't even matter. It could be anything. It could be Star Wars.
Yeah,
could be
I hear that.
Lord of the Rings. Could be anything I love. And I'm just like, nope, not doing that.
Yeah.
I had the same reaction to Marvel Rivals until people started saying it was actually good.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's not a genre I'm interested in. But, like, as soon as you say free to play, I'm out.
I think a lot of people feel that way. And I don't think you should feel that way about this game. It's really not skeevy like that.
I mean, I see the systems that will drive you into either spending money or feeling like you're not getting anywhere and sort of slowly quitting the game. And, like, you know what? Maybe just slowly quitting the game is how these things are supposed to end.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with that.
That's just
like, that is what happens for me.
You get, like, 10 hours of fun out of it and you walk away and that's it.
That's what I do. Like, I never started Zenless Zone Zero being like, I'm going to finish this game. No. I started it. I played it for, like, 20-some hours. I got tired of it eventually, and I stopped, and that's fine. Like, I paid no money.
And that game has apparently done very well.
It has, yeah. I mean, they're all
has not.
It's not.
They said it hasn't done
very well. Really? Zenless Zone Zero.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't see that.
Now that may just be not compared to their other stuff,
right? You know, which did gangbusters.
It probably did. There's probably other free-to-play games that are like, we would kill you. We would literally kill you in an alley to get Zenless Zone Zero's numbers, but it's not on the level of what they got from, like, their other product, the other Hoyo stuff.
Interesting. I think there's probably a law of diminishing returns.
Yeah, I would think so. Also, Zenless Zone Zero is definitely the weirdest one.
Yeah.
Of their catalog, so I can see why people would be like, I don't know about that one. Like, and that's gonna work for a certain audience, but, like, you know, it's just their other stuff is just, you can tell exactly where it fits in terms of, like, genre and style. And Zenless Zone Zero is a little more, I don't know if it's a little more original, but it feels a little more, you know, out there.
Yeah.
It's a little weirder.
I mean, I can see that. Yeah. Don Lionheart, thank you for Twitch Prime. That's awesome. That's one Senpai asks, is Game of Thrones massive with casuals who aren't gamers? Maybe that's why games aren't a thing.
I don't think so. I mean, it used to be. I mean, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it was.
It felt like the gamers were the first evangelists for the show, honestly.
I didn't think so.
No?
I heard way more about it. I mean, obviously, I heard people about it from work, but they were all the normies at work were the ones talking about it, unquestionably. Like,
I feel like the gamers were the ones who had already read the books.
Yeah, some of us, but like most of the time, I was just told to shut up.
Yeah, because they
I'm
want
like,
to hear. Because
I'm
the
like,
books are like this thick.
Yeah, well, because I read the books in '99. You know, I read the first book came out in '98. I read it like a year afterwards because my friend gave it to me because I don't like fantasy novels, and he's like, I think you'll like this one because it's very character driven and political. And I did like that book, and I was like, oh, there's some cool stuff in here, and I didn't realize until like halfway through season 1, which I wasn't watching at the time. I just knew everybody at work, all the normal people at work, were talking about it all the time because Breaking Bad was basically over, so they needed something else to talk about. And I'm like, oh, you guys, I'm like, what's happening? And like, and everyone's like, oh, I mean, Sean Bean's so great, and he's going to be such a good protagonist to take us through the whole. I was like, just keep watching, just keep going. I'm not going to tell you, but like, buckle up.
Yeah.
And then you ended up kind of having those things where it's like, okay, everybody was expecting like the crazy unexpected, expecting Ned to get his head cut off, and
that kept happening. That's why people love the
red
show.
Wedding thing and all that. I mean, it was like, oh my god, and then like
catch you off guard.
And as soon as they ran out of book material, it just all
You're right.
stopped.
That stuff
like,
stopped.
because,
You're right. Like I think they became afraid to make big moves.
Yeah.
Because they're like, he has to write this book, and like...
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
As soon as that guy poked Pedro Pascal's eyes out, that was basically the end of the fucking show for me.
You're kind of right.
Like, that was the last
That's
really
where it
interesting
ended.
thing
That whole
happened.
thing ended. You're right. Draylox, thank you for Twitch Prime. Appreciate it. Erebus says, money to spawn. F that, I'm out. From Spawn Senpai says, From Software is getting some ideas. Pay to live. I'd be poor after an hour.
Don't forget that one of Kojima's original pitches for Metal Gear Solid 2 was that it would cost like $3, and if you died, you had to go buy another copy.
Yeah.
And Konami was like, no. Yeah. And so but that was one of his original ideas for Metal Gear Solid 2 was that like you'd only get one chance per copy. How crazy is that? Yeah. Like, imagine someone just going in and like stocking up on like 12 copies of Metal Gear, so just in case they die.
Just pull the next one off the shelf.
Like, I'm gonna spend the normal amount for a video game, but just give me that many lives.
Darth Irv, thank you for Twitch Prime. Look, Lesteved has graced us. Lesteved from LS Cream is in our chat. What's up, Steve?
Battle of the Bastards was a good episode. So I stopped watching near the end of season 4 because I just didn't care anymore.
Yeah.
And I came back for my friend Benson was still watching all the time.
Yeah.
Somebody we worked with at G4.
One of our coworkers, yeah.
And he invited everybody over to watch Battle of the Bastards when that was airing. So I went over, and I remember sitting down for that, and he's like, okay, so are you caught up? And I'm like, no, I haven't watched it in like 2.5 years. I haven't watched it since season 4.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh my God, I have to catch you up. I'm like, is everyone pretty much the same place they were except Tyrion's on the other continent now? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. Yeah,
I figured it out. Yeah.
And sure enough, that episode, I'm like, oh, I got this. Yeah, we're fine. I understand what's happening now.
Yeah.
They lost nothing that fucking happened.
Yeah, they lost the ability to surprise.
As soon as they ran out of book material, it all just unraveled.
Yeah.
Because like the last 2 books take place during the same period of time. They're just different perspectives.
Yeah.
Because he had so many characters, he had to do all that. And the worst part was the second book had all the characters everybody cared about. So the third book is like a bunch of kind of also-rans and so it's still pretty good. It's still interesting, but if everyone wants to see like Arya and Tyrion and all, and they're in the
second
what was it, the last one, Dance with Dragons, and now everybody's waiting for the last one.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say I really enjoyed playing this game. As someone who really likes action RPGs and someone who doesn't play a lot of free-to-play games, I never was really offended by the monetization in the game, and I am a Game of Thrones fan. Unlike Matt, I agree that the last episode was a big disappointment and last season was kind of dour, but I still enjoyed the show. And so if you're like me, I think you should download it and give it a go. I really do. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. If you get to the point where you're like, well, I don't like that, just stop playing. You didn't pay anything. Just stop. And I guarantee you'll probably get at least 4 or 5 hours out of this before it gets to the point where they even ask you for money. So if you're interested in Game of Thrones and you like action RPGs, I definitely recommend giving it a download. If you don't like it, play it for an hour and stop. No skin off your ass. Delete it off your hard drive and move on. So I did enjoy it, and I am a Game of Thrones fan, but I think most people who are like me will enjoy it as well. All right, let's move on.
Is that the only Game of Thrones thing? Was there another action RPG, or was that it?
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah. There's been... I mean, I can't believe
if you
again,
really
want
if you really want a good Game of Thrones game that captures Game of Thrones, I think, go buy Crusader Kings 3 and get the Game of Thrones Total Conversion mod on Nexus Mod.
Oh,
That's the best Game of Thrones game.
Okay. That's a good recommendation. All right, next up is a game that's kind of like the new buzzy game of the week. It's I don't even know if I would even call it... At first, I thought it was an Animal Crossing clone, but the more I've learned about it, it feels like it's not.
But it looks like it.
Yeah. And that game is Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time. It's the brand new game from Level 5. It was supposed to be a Switch exclusive and was for like 4 or 5 years. And literally like 4 months ago, they're like, nope, now it's for everything. Mm-hmm. So they were working on multi-platform, it feels like, all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened between them and Nintendo.
It just wasn't that hard to port.
Maybe.
Might also be.
I think that might be the case as well.
I got this one. I usually play everything on PC. I got this one on PS5 because I felt like the performance was not going to really be all that different between each
Probably
platform.
Not.
And this one felt like a good one to play on the couch.
Yeah.
Sure enough, I have fallen asleep several times playing this. Not because it's bad, but because it's just, it's a cozy game.
Yeah, it's a chill game.
Not a whole lot of challenge.
Kick the feet up and chill.
Yeah.
The other thing that separates this game big time from Animal Crossing is combat.
Yeah, there's a lot of fighting.
Yeah, which Animal Crossing has none of.
And this fucking weirdo.
What is the basic plot of the game?
So you are the assistant to this guy who is an archaeologist, and you found this like ancient fossil of a dragon, and you're following this beam of light that it's shooting out to wherever it's trying to guide you to, but you get attacked by a big dark purple dragon of evil energy or whatever, and then in the middle, when it attacks your boat, the fossil dragon wakes up and fights it for you, and you end up, the whole boat gets blown up, and you end up getting on the dragon, and the dragon goes through a portal that takes you back in time, because you find the dragon's leading you to this undiscovered island, where he's like, oh, there's ruins and there's a former civilization, like, oh my god, and you get zapped back in time like 1,000 years to when the civilization was actually flourishing. Mm-hmm. And you have to do a bunch of shit with this bird. The bird is the professor's bird, and the helmet it's wearing lets it talk from the past, from the Magitech past. So you have to like help your bone dragon get better and heal, so it can take you back to the future and rescue and help the professor. And so you do that, but it turns out that through a bunch of very uninteresting machinations, basically you have to heal the past to save the future. Because
what's the whole girl who steals time thing? What's that all about?
That's kind of unclear and I guess a little bit of a spoiler.
Oh,
but
okay.
Essentially, there's an evil girl in the current day who keeps trapping the professor in places. And the basic way the early part of the game works out is you're trying to get into this ruin labyrinth, and every time you go into a new room, she causes some other thing to collapse on him. And you have to go back in time to get a new ability or new item or person who will help you clear that away and get to him. And every time you do, he's actually, the torture she's worked up for him, he's really enjoying.
Oh.
Because because she's really bad at it. It's
I see.
Like she's like, you will, like you hear, it's like you will deal with this, and he's like, oh my god, it's so soft. What am I gonna do? And you get there, and like he's like laying on a really comfortable bed, or like he's eating a bunch of donuts or something. It's like she just doesn't know how to torture people, but you're trying to stop her.
Interesting.
And it's kind of implied. It's pretty hard, not hard to piece together that like there's the ruler of the ancient past version of the place is like this haughty young dude, and his younger sister is like your age and is sort of like wants to go on adventures with you, but she's sort of forgetful and weird, and he's very protective of her, so like it's hard to get her out, like to be able to go on the adventure with you. But eventually she does, and it's pretty easy to tell that she is the evil thing.
Oh.
Like there's a bunch of statues and a bunch of weird vague things, and it's clearly her. So at some point she's going to turn out, and she keeps remembering different things that didn't happen or maybe happened to someone else. So you're like, okay, she's evil but doesn't know it, or she's going to fall into some sort of thing, and stuff like that is what happens.
Yeah.
But basically the game kind of settles out with
So you've got the past. The past is more or less the Animal Crossing part,
Mm-hmm.
where everything's all built up. There's people everywhere. You have like.
Are you building your own abode?
No, not in that time.
Okay.
So, but that's where you do all the leveling up and the guild stuff, the jobs.
Okay.
Because as soon as you get there, it's a very authoritarian look. As soon as you get there, the king, the ruler kid won't even talk to you because he's like, you look like you're a do nothing. You don't have a job. If you get a job, maybe I'll talk to you. And it's like, so you have to go get a job for like 5 minutes. And
Right.
then he's like, oh, now you're not a lazy bum. You're a hunter. And it's like, okay, sure, dude. I killed like one chicken. Like, great. And so you've got that. That's sort of where like a lot of the kind of the questing action happens. You've got the present day in the ruins.
Now, how do you jump from those between those time periods? Okay.
It's quick travel. It's
Gotcha.
just fast travel. But you can go between those 3 time periods. There's the current present day, where you have like a base camp, and that's where you have your house, and you can put furniture in the house and expand the house and stuff. And then you can you collect. There's like a little shrine that can, because there's a bunch of characters that you use as your party members, and they've been turned into objects, like sentient objects. They're called strangelings. And so when you find one, you get it in the inventory, and then you have to go back to the base camp and go up to the goddess at the top of the fountain, who is also probably that princess girl, and you give her a bunch of this other currency that you get by collecting it from your town every day, which is one of the few things that is real world oriented, because the blossoms re-blossom every literal 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
So you have to pick those up all the time.
Yeah.
But you have a way of gathering them all at
Sounds
once.
very much like Animal Crossing.
Very much. But you have a way of gathering them all at once, so it's not actually that tedious. So you do that, you pay her enough of those, and she'll turn the strangeling into a real person again, and then they join you as a party member, and you can get them a house to live in your town.
I see.
And then you can create farms in the town and terraform the town and change things around however you want and expand it out. Like, the more residents you have, you can clear more debris, which gives you more access to more places that you can build more houses and stuff.
Sounds very Animal Crossing.
Very, very Animal Crossing in that regard. And then there's a third location whose name I can't remember. It's called like Syria or some shit. It's another dimension, basically. It's just a big like continent that's just a big open dungeon. And it's not really a dungeon, it's a big open world, but you just run around and fight stuff and collect resources.
What's the point of fighting in the game?
You level up.
Okay. And what does the leveling up do?
It gets you more access. It levels up your stats, and but only for that job. So I'll get to the job system in a minute. But basically, that continent is basically a free for all. You can run around, kill whatever you want, pick up whatever resources you need. There's shrines you can go into, say that where like you solve little puzzles like Breath of the Wild. Not that intricate. It's usually just like mine this many things in this amount of time or something. And then the gimmick there is that the more you do in a zone in that area, in that continent, you can then go to like those eyes, the towers of the eyes. You can go to them and then change the level of the area and level it up, so that you don't out level places.
Oh, that's cool.
So everything
that's a cool feature.
Remains like it's still giving you loot and experience equivalent to what you need.
Yeah.
So the leveling stuff is in the 1,000 years ago place. They are very obsessed with the job system, guild thing. So I want to say there's 12 jobs in the game.
Wow, that's a lot.
And they come into 3 categories. There's combat, there's gathering, and there's artisan.
Okay.
So combat is paladin, which is sword and shield, and a cop. Weirdly enough, you are basically a cop for the town. Mercenary, which is great sword stuff like free form warrior. Hunter, which is bow.
Yeah.
And magician, which is sorcerer, casting fireball.
Basically, just your classes.
Your classes. So I am mostly a magician. You can be all the jobs
at once,
except you have to pick which combat one you are at any given time.
Okay.
And then the gathering, you have miner, woodsman, like cutting trees down and stuff like that, and angler, which is fishing.
Yeah.
And then later in the game, you can unlock farmer, which lets you plant seeds and farm food.
Yeah.
And those are all done as basically you see the blue stamina bar in the upper left there, which just disappeared. There it is. That really determines what you. So like the mining nodes and the trees, they all have levels. So your job level is all independent. So you can be I'm like a level 9
Like, I'm like a level 9 angler, but I'm a level 34 woodsman.
Right.
Because I've cut down a lot more trees than I've caught fish.
Mm-hmm.
And so you cannot actually cut down like a level 30 tree if you're like a level 10 woodsman,
Right.
usually.
Yeah.
Unless
Makes sense.
Unless you're really gaming the system.
Yeah.
I have cut down level 25 trees as a level 15. But like, you got to have some of your companions, because you can get 3 characters that have joined you to join you. If they have all the different jobs too, they're each in one job. So if you have like a woodsman with you, he will help you cut that tree
Gotcha.
down. So that's a way you can use power moves. You can every job has its own skill tree, so you can actually have ways where you can kind of more efficiently cut things down or mine stuff. But that's how you get resources. And then the artisan stuff is there are I might not remember all of these.
It's okay.
There's a tailor where you make clothes. There's cook where you make food. There is blacksmith where you make weapons and armor. And then later you can unlock literal artist, where you just make decorative items for your house and paint pictures you can sell.
Okay.
So those are your 12 classes, and all of them level up independently
As you use them.
you use them. So when you do the artisan stuff, the crafting stuff, you play like a little mini game, like a almost like a cooking mini game, except they're all different. And you've got 3 stations that are all related to whatever you're doing, and little symbols appear up above, and you have to do each one in that order. And however well you do with them, because sometimes just press the button, sometimes hold the button, tap the button, spin the right stick, whatever. And the faster you do them, the better rating you get. And you got a little bar at the bottom that fills up. You have to fill it to 100 before the timer runs out. And if you're not high enough level to do, or you don't have a high enough equipment level to do the crafting of the level that you're trying, of the recipe you're trying to do, you will probably fail the crafting, and you lose a lot of the ingredients you used. So you have to be careful what you're doing with that.
This game sounds insane.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
I mean, it sounds crazy.
I have not done a lot of the crafting because basically you need a lot of resources, and it's a little obtuse, and you don't really need it. Like I've been able to find like equipment I need. I've been able to mine and sell stuff, mining so here's the thing that's interesting about the other jobs. You can have all the craftsmen and all the artisan and gathering jobs all at once. And so I'm running around as a magician, say, and I'm blowing guys up, whatever. And now I get to a tree. And I want to cut that tree down. I just hit square, I go over to basically the tree, and I hit the button, and it turns me into a woodsman. Oh, so you do not have to actually,
provided you have a woodsman in your party.
As long as you are a woodsman, as long as you have a woodsman job, because you have to do a little opening quest for each job. So that takes a while. You can skip them, but then you won't know how the job works. I guess that's for subsequent playthroughs. So I can't imagine who would want to play this 100-hour game again. But what do I know?
Yeah. There's someone who will.
So basically, it's very fast. Like there's no barrier to being able to switch immediately to your gathering stuff, and then you can immediately hit attack and switch back to your combat mode and do whatever you want that way.
Yeah.
But each thing you do levels up that job individually. So like you've got a bunch of skills you can open to up your stamina, but every job is separate. So if I've leveled up all my stamina by like 70 in blacksmith, it will not be leveled up to 70 in like woodsman.
I see.
So you have to like do all that individually. But it moves pretty fast for the most part.
I'm starting to see why this game was delayed like 3 times. Because there's so much.
There's a lot happening.
Yeah.
And it's all everywhere.
Why do you think it's so popular? So it sold 500,000 units in like a week. It's really kind of caught fire.
It is a wonderful Skinner box.
Yeah.
It is. You're just making that line go up. You're filling that bar. Like it's just there's always something to do. And it's very good at that kind of like, oh, now you got to do this. Oh, this happened? You got to go find this thing now. And like it's just simple enough and brainless enough that you can just sort of breeze through it.
The combat looks real simple. Looks like you got one 3-hit combo that you just use over and over for melee.
Yeah, but you also need to use some of your charge attacks. And dodging is interesting, like because only the paladin class can block, because they only want the shield.
Yeah.
The others have to dodge. Dodging is not amazing. I ended up settling on the magician because they're basically ranged and the casting is pretty strong. And sure enough, like the magician, once you level it up a bit, insanely powerful.
Oh, really?
Like it's got to be the most powerful class because you don't even need to be anywhere near anything, and you just wreck shit.
and it has healing magic. It's one of the only ways to get life back without spending items.
Huh. I get the vibe that this isn't about challenging combat. Like that's
No.
That's not a crux.
I
of
mean,
the game.
you'll get wiped out if you take on something that's too high level.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
you can clearly see their levels before you fight them, though.
Oh yeah. And I've killed bosses that were like 10 levels above mine.
Yeah.
Just by being persistent and having the right allies.
Yeah.
And you got little mounts you can ride through.
Do you think people who really like Animal Crossing will like this? Because there's a lot more than Animal Crossing has. And can you avoid that if you're someone who just wants to do...
No, you have to do that. I can't imagine you'd be able to avoid the combat. Like, and the way... You probably won't see it here, but the nuance of the gathering stuff is that if you... Usually with the craft, with the trees and the mining, it's positioning the character in the right place around the object. With the fishing, it's positioning that arrow in the right place. There is a sweet spot where you'll do critical damage every time you hit, and that is how you cut stuff down that's higher level than you.
I see.
And then if you hit it, if you do a huge amount of damage on your last hit to something, you get an excellent, which gives you bonus resources.
I see.
And then as you're the other way you do that's leveling up in terms of the level up of your character on that job. There's also levels to the job with the guild. And to get that, you have to complete little tasks they give you in your journal, like kill, if you're in combat, it'll be like kill 12 of these type of enemy or use this skill this many times. If it's like one of the gathering jobs, it'll be like get 10 excellence on oak trees or things like that. And every time you do that, you go back to the guild master and turn them in, and if you have gotten enough points from those quests, you level up to the next level of that job, like apprentice or and you get high enough level, it opens the skill tree more.
I see.
And every time you level up the job, you get skill points. So that's basically how you get up there. You really only need to concentrate on a couple of them early on. Like I found, like just leveling up my combat class and keeping like woodcutter and miner up there got me pretty damn far.
Because you can fight and you can gather resources.
Yeah, you can do all that at once, basically.
Yeah.
But with the crafting, you have to literally go back. I mean, you can craft anything at any bench. You don't have to go to like specific benches for each. You can go in the alchemy shop and go to the alchemy bench and decide to make a helmet with blacksmithing, and it'll just let you do it.
Oh, okay.
It'll just change it to
so
the
it's
blacksmithing.
flexibility.
Yeah, so it's not wasting your time in that regard, which I appreciated. But yeah, that's basically what you're doing the whole time. And there is a story to pull you through the whole thing. Like I said, you're trying to solve this multi-time zone mystery and figure out if the guy in the hat is molesting anybody, because it seems very weird.
Really?
He's just one of those characters that he's so relentlessly positive that you're like, what's up with this dude? And that's someone being turned back to human from being a piece of furniture.
Parts of this game give me a little bit of a Balan Wonderworld vibe. Like he does.
I guess he does. I mean, to him, that guy basically makes me think of like if Professor Layton was like on a list somewhere. That's really what I get from him.
That's funny. So do you think people who really like Animal Crossing will like this game?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's much more action oriented.
Right.
I mean, even the crafting and the gathering are basically like QTE mini games to some degree. Because the thing about like one of the ways they gate you on the gathering nodes, like the trees and the they heal all the time. So let's say let's say I'm swinging that pickaxe at this diamond node, right? And I get down to like it's like down to like 10% of its life bar left, and then I run out of stamina. I'm going to have to sit there and wait for the stamina to start to recharge. That takes a while. Like the stamina doesn't recharge very fast in this game. And as I do it, its life bar is going back up. And if you back off and then use a stamina potion, it resets the life bar.
Oh, geez.
So basically, you have to make sure you have enough stamina to outlast whatever thing you're trying to gather.
Wow, interesting.
Now, having allies with you that are gathering that same thing with you help, because they just constantly circle the thing and periodically whack it, so that can kind of keep the HP down for it until you can kind of get. And I have another ally that I use that casts a spell that brings a bunch of my stamina back. So like there are ways around it. Once you get allies, you can kind of sort of have a nice little party build that like lets you mine stuff and cut down stuff that's higher than you probably should be able to. So that's, I guess, some part of the strategy there. But that's kind of the bulk of the game. Like it's not like Animal Crossing where you're just sort of running around picking things up for free and like doing a little commerce, doing a little social stuff. Like this has a lot more action RPG to it.
Yeah, it does. How much is this game?
I want to say it's 50.
Was it 50? That seems right.
I think so.
But you said it's 100 hours long?
Yeah, but I think there was like a deluxe version that was like 69 or
really?
something that was like, I think you got like 3 days early access or something. Obviously, that doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
But I saw people playing it before it came out through some early access thing.
This game is available for everything, and
Yeah.
it's also launching for Switch 2 on launch day on June 5th. So
Yeah, as Vincent says, it's would be maybe more appealing to someone who thinks Stardew Valley is a little too complicated.
it falls in the middle of those two games.
I'd say it's a little probably more appealing if you either want a less complex Stardew Valley or a more complex Harvest Moon.
Okay.
It falls kind of in the middle.
Yeah, I can
there.
follow that. Are you happy that you bought it?
Yeah, I've played like 20 hours of it.
Oh, you
this
have?
week. Like, not like hardcore. Like I'm gonna fucking make some progress on Fantasy Life High. It's like no, I'm gonna turn this on, listen to a podcast, and sort of like stare at the TV
Goof
for
around
4 hours.
and,
Yeah. And it's very good for that. Like, and it's charming enough. It's easy on the eyes. The story is pretty, afternoon anime nonsense. There's a lot, especially with the job stuff. There's a lot of like, you sign up for the job and they assign you an an easy job to do to prove yourself to the guild, and you get teamed up with the other rookie, and the rookie's like, I don't know if I can do this anymore, and then you do this like, I'm gonna do my best and aim for the top kind of. It's just like the same. It's that
Shoot for the stars.
Yeah, it's the whole like you can do it like Japanese work ethic sort of thing.
Yeah, you can do anything if you put your mind to it.
I'm gonna show everyone that I'm the best wood carver that's ever picked up a chisel, and it's like that kind of shit over and over and over and over and over
for 100 hours.
Yeah, and that's early on when you just have to do all the opening jobs with everybody, because you want to unlock all these things. It's like you're like running around. It's like, well, I can't mine copper because I don't have the mining job, so I'm gonna go do that. So you got to go through the little intro quests, and you do 12 of those. There's 12 of those.
This is not in my wheelhouse. No, I have not played this game.
I don't think you would like this very much. It's, especially because I'm not kidding. The stamina meter is the fucking god.
When you've mentioned that, I'm like, I'm out.
On the combat, everything is stamina. Like there's a if you're gonna borrow anything from Dark Souls, that's a weird thing to borrow for your Harvest Moon alike. But like that is basically what they've done here. Okay. It is a stamina managing game that happens to have trees in it.
The funny part is we have way more comments in chat about this game than we did for Game of Thrones. It's hilarious.
Looks like it's $60 for the best game.
Threadzilla, thank you for Twitch Prime. Ashley in the Hourglass says, also the original game on 3DS also sold well and has a cult following similar to Tamagotchi Life. This game actually does seem like it's more similar to Tamagotchi Life than Animal Crossing, with some crossover between those two. Annie T. Monahan. Oh, he's talking to Noxator Swan Senpai, I was interested in this until I saw combat and the art style. I just want to build a town, go do the shops, do up my house, and chill with my adorable animals.
Yeah, you cannot build a town, really.
Oh, you can't build a whole town?
You can put houses down, but it's like, to me, and I know they show in like one of the tutorial things like that somebody has taken the zone you get to build something in, and they basically built like Atlantis. Like it's like there's bridges everywhere and everything's made of white marble, and I'm just like, that would take you hundreds of hours to do. Like it would take a very long time to do that. Vincent asks, what about the people who are deep into Stardew Valley? This seems like the more direct comparison. Yeah, like I said, it's a less complex. If you think Stardew Valley's got a little too much going on, like this is a much simpler game. And then he also follows up with, between this and the soccer game demo that we both liked, is level 5 back even before Layton launches? Well, I don't know. It's got to put that soccer game out first. Yeah, it's still waiting for that. Out. Yeah. And that was a while ago that we covered that. That was last summer. Yeah. That was a while. What's going on there? I mean, this game was delayed like 8 times. Like, I'm not exaggerating. And in the midst of it, it went from being a Switch exclusive to multi-platform, day and date multi-platform. I like the soccer game more than this, but this is, it's fine. Yeah. It's very pleasant. $60, there's no way in hell I'm paying that. $60 is a lot for that, though. Vincent says it looks like the soccer game is supposed to come this summer. All right. I'd be surprised because, level 5 is not that big. So... But we'll see. No, but they've certainly had enough time. They have been working on the soccer game for a while.
So
and that demo was huge.
It was
Like,
huge. It
like
never ended.
No.
Yeah, that game definitely caught my eye. So anyway, there you go. That's Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time. It's available for everything. It's going to be a Switch Switch 2 day one launch game. If you're trying to figure out some games to pick up for that, that might have been a nice little nugget for the Switch 2 launch if it was exclusive.
That would have been an interesting thing to keep exclusive.
Yeah,
if it could have.
Well, I don't know what happened there. It's very rare to see.
I imagine
something
level
like
5 needs the revenue.
Probably, yeah, because it hasn't put out a game for a minute. It's been a while. So, anyway, if you like Stardew Valley, Animal Crossing, all those kind of games, Harvest Moon, this is kind of in that wheelhouse.
Yeah, I think the Harvest Moon Rune Factory comparison is probably the closest.
Okay, all right. There you go. That's Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time.
And I should also note there are actual real dungeons in the game, but you have to grow them.
Oh.
You have to plant. You get these things. You have to plant. They're like called grove missions. I think you have to plant them in your town, and then they grow like basically the thing that lets you get in. And so there's some like actual like dungeon crawling in the game, but I've only done one of them.
Okay.
It's been such a minor part of the game that I forgot until you just mentioned that.
Okay. Well, we're about to review what I think most outlets are saying was the biggest release of the week. But before we do that, let's hear a word from our awesome sponsor, LS Cream. LS Cream is a fine cream liqueur created by fellow gamer and sifter Stevens Charles. It's inspired by an ancestral recipe from Haiti called Crémasse, and a double gold winner for its original taste at the New York Wine and Spirit International Competition. LS Cream can be enjoyed on the rocks or as a mixer for drinks with its rich blend of fresh cream and neutral grain spirits with notes of coconut, vanilla, cinnamon, and nutmeg. It's great in coffee or to make espresso martinis. To learn more, discover amazing drink recipes, or to track down your own bottle using a handy store locator, head to creamls.com/sifted. That's creamls.com/sifted. That's right, sifters. Crémasse dat ass with some LS Cream. Head to creamls.com/sifted. They've sorted out all the tariff nonsense. LS Cream is ready to rock. Let's help them rock. Go to creamls.com/sifted, learn how to make awesome drinks, figure out where to get a bottle locally, figure out how to get that bottle sent right to your doorstep. The website does it all. Again, go to creamls.com/sifted. Long live LS Cream. And with that, it's time to move on to the game that everyone's covering like it's the biggest thing of the week. And that is a game called RoadCraft. Matt, have you played any of the other games in this series, the Expedition series, like Mud Runner or Snow Runner, any of those technical driving simulations?
No.
I think we covered...
We talked about
Snow Runner, I think. Yeah, I covered it one time. I am not a gigantic fan of these games in general, but I have managed to enjoy them. A lot like we were talking about earlier, it's one of those games where I play it for like 8 or 10 hours. I'm like, I get it, and then I bail. Once it starts to get more difficult and challenging, I usually just get out of there.
Yeah. I looked at this, but the player reviews were so negative.
Oh, they are?
Because they said it was, I mean, on Steam anyway, it was just a lot of people saying, like, this thing is just a giant pile of bugs.
Dude, the press has been gushing all over this
like
thing.
It seems really cool because that's why I looked at it, because I saw a bunch of positive things on that, and I looked and I was like, I just lost 4 hours of progress because I got stuck on the wrong part of the road and I had to reset and all of that. Like, it just seemed very frustrating to me.
I can't even put into words how frustrating this game is. I literally can't even express to you. I'm going to try here.
For the price they were asking, it felt like too much.
It's $40.
Yeah.
It is. So here's the thing. People feel like this is the next evolution of the Expeditions franchise, because generally what you're doing in these is just trying to get from point A to point B, like driving through the mud and the river and the lake and all this terrain, figuring out you have the right vehicle. You have to figure out the pathway through streams where your car won't get basically drowned and the engine won't get filled with water. That's usually what these are about. And this game also has that stuff, but it also has you using these crazy heavy equipment machines to do very specific jobs. And that is where I checked out. So There are 40 different vehicles in this, and the other thing I will say about this compared to the other Expedition games is that the vehicle variety in this runs the gamut way more. Like in the other ones, it's like, here's an SUV from this manufacturer. Here's one that looks kind of the same, but is from another manufacturer. In this, you have like backhoes, front loaders, bulldozers, like every form of big equipment that you could think of, but you also have this base vehicle that you're seeing right now. So you have your one vehicle that you use through most of the game, and they give you objectives to do with that as well. But then they give you the more involved objectives, and they give you specific vehicles to do those. And this, I'll say this, the system for jumping between vehicles is very easy. You can just go to the map screen, you can find the vehicle on the map, click on it, and zap. You're zapped into the cockpit of that other vehicle. They do that system really well. Where the game becomes annoying to me, it does have the stuff that you mentioned, Matt, where if you turn the wrong way and you get stuck on a rock and you can't get off the rock, you just have to reset the game. It does do that. And the other problem with this is if you do get stuck and you have to reset it, you go back to like your last vehicle spawn point and have to drive all the way back to the job. And you can get stuck on anything in this game. What bothers me the most at the core of this game is that it asks you to do very intricate, specific things, but the tools that they give you to do it are way too loosey-goosey. So a lot of times you have to like hook something up to your winch and drag it somewhere, but a lot of the times the things that you hook up to your winch get caught on everything. So they're like, drag this safe to this spot or whatever. It is infuriating trying to get that safe to not catch on like a little seam in the environment or whatever. The other thing I don't like about this game is there's no flexibility in how you actually do stuff in this. So one of the very first missions in this is like, hey, go to this work site, find this generator, and then drag the generator over to this location so that we can use it in this other thing that we need to do. So you go to the location, you're going to see it in the B-roll here pretty soon. I go to the location, you can scan in this. So I click the scan, the safe or the generator gets highlighted. I'm like, there it is. It's up on the second floor of this building that is half constructed. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to hook the winch up to that. I'm going to drag it off the second floor and then drag it over to this spot where I need to take it. So I do it. I go over there. I hook up the winch to it. I start dragging it. It gets caught on like a bolt or some nail or something or some uneven seam in the floor, and it just won't slide. And so I'm like, okay, well, maybe the angle's wrong. So I go and get my big bulldozer, and I bring my bulldozer. I ride like 2 miles in this bulldozer at like 2 miles an hour to come over to this work site because I think I need to move stuff out of the way to give my vehicle the right angle so I can hook up to the generator and drag it off the second floor. So I come over with the bulldozer, I move all the stuff out of the way, I come in with the other car with the winch, I hook it up to the safe, it still can't move the frickin' safe. At this point, I've burned like an hour on one of the first missions in the game. So I'm like, what the hell's going on? I just start driving around the worksite. Eventually, I find a place where there's this big wall that you have to bump into, and the wall falls down, and that's what I was supposed to be doing the entire time.
Oh, that was everyone I saw in the two main things in the discussion zone on Steam, in between the threads asking if the road construction game was woke. Okay. Was like people begging for a camera upgrade for the crane. I don't know what that means because I haven't seen crane footage. And B, constantly people saying they got soft locked because they did something before the game told them to do it.
Yeah. It happens all the time. And so what I was saying is like...
That feels like a problem that could be fixed in time.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this. A lot of the stuff that's wrong with this game, they can fix. But I feel like they were conscious decisions that were made by the development team, and they would have to go back on what they decided when they were working on this game. So
it's interesting because it felt like this was supposed to be sort of like an attempt at like a breakout.
Right.
Like it felt like this was supposed to be more
accessible and mainstream.
Like more mainstream than like at least Mud Runners.
I'll say this. Like and by the time
this is a cool idea.
Right. And that's why I got it and wanted to play it. I thought it was going to be cool as well because I was not a fan of the prior games. I also thought...
this is the first one that's really made me look at it.
Right.
Because like I don't care about the Snow Runners and Mud Runners stuff.
So I was like even thinking like, man, kids will love this game because it's like a big sandbox where they're playing with their Tonka trucks. But no, because what you find is that each one of these vehicles is so annoying to control. And each one has its own set of controls because they're all completely different in how they operate. And a lot of times, too, it doesn't feel like using the vehicles the way they're intended works. So here's a good example of this. I put the scoop down. I put it down too far at first, and I adjust it to get it right. And then I go to try to push these things. That's actually this mission objective, is get all this crap out of this zone. I go to try to push it with the scoop. It hardly does anything. You'll see in a minute here, it all gets caught up, and I can't go any farther. And I'm like, all right. So I'll back up. I'll adjust the scoop, try it again. That doesn't work.
So my solution is to just be like back up and floor it.
That's what I do here. The flooring it in this game.
Flooring it means certain things in certain vehicles, clearly.
So I try. It doesn't work. Watch. I just lift the scoop all the way up.
That does not feel like that's how that should work physics-wise.
No.
It feels like you should still be able to get a little bit of movement out of that.
And this happens all the time in this game, where one object will get caught on one thing, and it just screws everything up. It's like the physics are almost too realistic. So watch. I just lift the scoop up and just drive into it, and they all move.
That's weird.
This is this game in a nutshell. There is a very specific way it wants you to do everything. If you try to be creative and think of interesting ways to do stuff, it will spit in your face every frickin' time. It doesn't matter what vehicle or what mission objective, it happens no matter what. And to your point earlier, like, when I was trying to get that generator off of that second floor, the first time it happened, my truck got pulled all the way up to the second floor by the winch. And I didn't realize it at first. I was like, oh, I'll just release the winch. Nope. That's over. You're done. Once you get lifted off the ground, the game just says, sorry, you need to reset somewhere, and you have to go all the way back to where you last respawned and redrive to the work site again. And that's the way this game works. Another mission objective that they give you all the time is like, hey, we have this fleet of trucks that we need to get from point A to point B. So use the overhead map, plot out the path for the trucks to go on, and then send them from point A to point B. And you'll sit there, you'll map it out, you'll start the trucks going to the location. They'll get about 2/3 of the way there, and one truck will get stuck on something you can't even see. You're like, you go, and you can go zoom in and look at it, and you're like, you're not stuck on anything. Why won't the truck go? And then you have to do it all over again. To me, this game was infuriating. I don't know if there's like some break point at like 20 hours in where it all starts to click and come together. It was just, you have to have the patience of a saint to play this game. Another thing that this game has...
And that's very rare in a union job.
Yeah, seriously. Another thing that this game has that all the other games in this franchise has is the e-brake, the emergency brake or the parking brake. Like, you'll come back from a cutscene and the parking brake is on. They just turn it on. And you're sitting there hitting the gas and your car won't go. You're like, what's going on? Oh, they turned on the freaking parking brake again.
The parking brake gremlins.
I mean, to be honest, the parking brake in this is one of the most important mechanics in the game. Because you'll find, like, sometimes I'll drive, like, a piece of equipment to the end of a map, and I'll park it. And then, like, you'll need to get back there. And sometimes when you go back there, you look at your vehicle, and it's starting to drift and move because you didn't set the parking brake. So the parking brake in this is really important. Turning it on when you're winching so that the vehicle doesn't get drawn to whatever you're trying to winch. Just when you park your vehicles, make sure that you set it before you leave because they could just roll off into the ocean or whatever. It's just very tedious.
And they don't let you into heaven if you die that way.
No, and again, I have played the other games in this series. There's a tedium to those too, but not like in this game. Like, it feels like all the extra stuff that they added made it more tedious instead of less. They didn't refine the franchise. They added a bunch of stuff onto it and didn't tweak anything. And look, I do get it. There's kind of a cult following around these games. There is a very specific type of player who likes these games. Like, they're hits. Like, I think the last one sold over 1 million copies or whatever. So there's an audience out there for this sort of technical driving simulation thing. This game, unfortunately, combines that with its tedium with all this other stuff that I've been talking about that adds tedium to it, and it is just maddening. I ended up playing this game, I think, 5-6 hours maybe, and I just couldn't play it anymore. I couldn't take it anymore. Every new vehicle...
There it goes.
Yep. It's drifting. See? The vehicle's drifting. It just started out of nowhere. Look, and I had to hit the brake.
Handbrake on.
Yeah,
almost rammed into the trucks.
This is the way this game is. So you're micromanaging. Like, sometimes you have, like, multiple mission objectives going on at once. Like, When I first did this mission the first time, I sent those trucks and just went off and started doing another mission. And was like, oh, they'll handle it. I drew the route. They'll drive the route.
I thought they were going to smash into each other.
Right.
You just don't. Okay.
Yeah. So you think that they're going to do their thing, and you go do another mission. Next thing you know, you go back and check on them. Nope, they're stuck on a tree stump or whatever. Like, it just becomes maddening. This is kind of a cozy game, is what I would say. Like, if you're going to buy this and play
Cozy
this...
game for men.
Seriously. If you're going to buy this and play this, I think you just have to accept that it's just this chill thing that you don't maybe count on making a lot of progress in the hour or two that you spend playing it. You just kind of fiddle around with it like it's a toy and try to have fun with it that way. I tried that. I tried to shift my mental space while playing this. I couldn't do it. It just became too maddening. And then, like, when you get stuck in like a patch of mud, or you get caught in a stream and your engine floods, and like, so there's different pings. So there's a ping that will show you objects, and there's a ping that will show you the lay of the land. And the lay of the land will kind of give you a hint on how deep the water is. It'll help you find, like, paths through the water where there's actually mud that isn't too far below the surface, so you won't drown your engine. If you forget to do that, you're going to have to start all over again. And so it becomes this thing where you're constantly pinging. Like, every, 30 seconds you're pinging because you don't want to have to get reset and start all over. Here we finally got to the point in the B-roll where I was talking about earlier. Here's the generator on the second floor. And watch, it just lifts me up. And once it lifts me up, I cannot release it to go back down. I just have to reset the game and go back to where I last spawned. So here I come again. It's like, I respawn, I come back. Now I'm like, okay, I think these trash cans are in the way. It won't let me hook up to it the way I want. And you go through these mental processes that take forever to do, and then you find out that you can't do it. And you should have been doing...
Why is that the way you'd get that thing? You'd use a crane for that. Why are you using a truck?
I'm just trying to drag it off of the...
But, why don't they give you, the proper tool?
They don't give it to you. For this mission, they don't. For whatever reason.
That's a ridiculous way to do that.
Well, that's not the way they want you to do it.
How do they want you to do it?
Over on the other side of this work site, there's that wall that you bump into, and it falls down. And then you actually drive the truck up through the house.
Like you drive it up the fallen wall?
Yes, into the construction house.
I don't think that's OSHA compliant.
I don't think it is either, Matt. So anyway, I'm like, all right, well, maybe I need to move all this stuff that's sitting here so I can get a better angle on pulling the generator down off the second floor. So I went and got this backhoe, drive it all the way over here, try to move the stuff. You can't move half of the stuff. Like those barriers there won't move, even though they should move. The only things that do move are those orange trash cans. And I realized, well, this was a waste of time. It's just, that's this game. And either you like stuff like this or you don't. If you do like stuff like this is a god tier game. There are 40 vehicles. It is gigantic. There are tons of missions. You'll get, my guess is 60 hours of play out of this if you actually want to finish the game. Eventually you get to the point where you're building roads and doing a lot more stuff. It gets a lot more involved eventually. The more involved it got, the less I enjoyed playing it. It was just teaching me to just quit, basically. And eventually that's what I did. And that's why this game, when it probably should have been the first game that we discussed, it actually ended up becoming the third because I didn't play it all that much. I got to 6 or 7 hours in and I was like, I don't want to play this anymore. And my time is too valuable to waste it doing this. So
I mean, a friend of mine is an electrical engineer for San Francisco and used to be down here. And this all sounds pretty close to what he used to tell me about construction projects.
Like real ones?
Yeah, not too far off, in terms of what you're doing or what you have to do or who you're working with.
Also, the steering in this is just this vehicle. When you try to drive it up into the constructed building, its turning radius is abysmal. But when you're driving out on the open road, if you barely tap the stick, it almost does a donut. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I feel almost some of this stuff is almost intentional. They intentionally make it hard to drive because they don't want you to go fast. They want you to consider every little bump, every little puddle, every little ridge in the road. I'll say this, though. This game has awesome terrain deformation. I don't know if there's any other franchise in all of gaming that does deform terrain better than this
maybe
one.
One of the rally games, but those don't really exist anymore.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, look, there's some tech in this that's really impressive. The physics in this are really realistic, but they also kind of doom the game because, as I said, objects will get caught on the smallest thing. Even once I finally figured out what they wanted me to do in this mission, and I got it down off of the second floor, and I was dragging it over there, I got 15 feet away from the zone where you're supposed to drop it off, and it got caught on a rock in the puddle or whatever, and I could not move it. And I was just like, ah! Again, you need the patience of a saint to play this game. If you got it, I think you'll probably like the game. If you don't, you're going to be just like me and you're going to bounce off it real, real fast. So, again, this critique is coming from somebody who has played the other Expedition games in the past and moderately enjoyed them. Like I said earlier, I could play them 10, 15 hours. I'd be like, I get it. I'm cool, and bounce off of them. This game, I played it for half the time, and I was done. So it's just very frustrating. You can see how much time I dedicated to try to getting this generator. And then as it turns out, 100 yards away, there's just this wall that you bump into, and it falls down, and you just drive up there and get it. It's just like, F you, man. F this game. F you. But I think by now you've probably figured out what type of game this is and whether it's for you or not. Yeah, see?
There's some Tom and Jerry shit.
It really is. It just drove me bonkers. I was like, what is going on with this game? And then here, this is where I was supposed to go all along. Although I could barely get up this ramp. But this is what I was supposed to do all along, was just go to this ramp and bump this wall down.
That is so weird, because I would never think that that is what you're supposed to do in a game that seems to be trying to simulate some kind of realistic construction environment.
Well, the vehicles are crazy realistic. It's like I said, like learning how to use each one. It's like you go to these sub controls. So you can see in the bottom right
like
there.
That would rip your tires completely apart. Like
Yep.
when you're driving on rebar. That
Right.
doesn't even make any sense.
Well, you can see the basic controls down in the bottom right. So circle is your parking brake. L is your low gear. If you turn that on, you go really slow, but you can get through mud. And then the square is like all-wheel drive, and I can't remember what the triangle is. But then there are these whole other set of controls that pop up using the R1 and the L1 buttons for the other more involved vehicles, for like the backhoes where you're raising the arm and extending the boom and lowering the cable and taking out the slack. It's just like, no! Who wants to do this? Like, here, I guess the best way I can put it is this game turns into work. You feel like you're working a frickin' job in construction. With all the same issues that a real construction site would have, all the same problems you'd have with the vehicles, all that stuff. And so if you like stuff like that, it is a pretty realistic simulation, but there's a reason people get paid to do this stuff instead of you paying someone else to do it. I guess is the best way I could put it. So anyway, it's called RoadCraft. Yeah, now I can't get up the ramp. I have to put it in low to get back up the ramp. That's the way this game is. It's just... No thanks. No thank you. Unfortunately, you guys didn't even really get to see some of the other vehicles that are in the game, but there's just tons of crazy backhoes and dump trucks and pretty much everything you've ever seen on a construction site. They have all of them in this game.
What are the people complaining about the crane talking about?
I don't know, actually. I mean, so the camp... I'm done. So I have to reset now. I have to reset and drive all the way back. Yep. There you go. That's RoadCraft. Yeah. And again, I don't want to slag it too hard because I do think that there are people out there that love this franchise and will probably think that this is the next evolution of it because it is more involved and has a lot more in it than the prior games have, but it's just not for me. And I honestly don't think it is for most players. Zed Saber Jr. says, I think the game is meant to be aggravating in the vein of QWOP.
QWOP.
What's QWOP?
That was that game where you control it with the Q, W, and O and P keys.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
It's a runner, and you're trying to run.
Like an endless runner?
No, you are controlling like a runner from a side perspective, and each button controls a limb basically, and it's just one of those like intentionally impossible games.
I see.
And like
getting over it is one of those.
Sure. If you practice it enough, you can actually make him run properly. But it's like trying to work a marionette with 4 buttons, and it's very, very difficult.
Swan Senpai says at least they tried something different. That is true. Like they could have just made another Mud Runner or Snow Runner game. They did try to expand the franchise, and again, that's why I don't want to slag it because I do think for certain people they'll be like, Shane's crazy. This is like my game of the year. So I can see that and appreciate it. It's just not for me. Swan Senpai says I'll take it over another free-to-play shooter. Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely play this over Splitgate.
Yeah, I may recommend this over Splitgate, even as someone who likes shooters. I think I may recommend it over that, because it is just so derivative, even though it has like the portal mechanic or whatever that you just can't really use practically inside the context of the game.
I just wish they'd branch out and make like a game like this, but based on like the Calvin and Hobbes comics where he like pretends to do that, like play with those toys, and like it becomes like a natural disaster.
Yeah.
It's like he's driving his bulldozer, but oh no, here comes the train loaded with TNT.
Yeah.
About to collide with a falling jet that's carrying a nuclear missile. It's like stuff
That
like
is
that.
one thing I forgot to mention is the whole objective of this game is that you're cleaning up ecological disasters. So there's a angle of eco whatever. And
It is woke.
Right. Yep. Nightwing 3060 says, sounds like a game to play while listening to Sifted. What else? Any other comments?
It does. If
Hardcore parking brake sim, Noxatornitis.
It does seem like it would be an excellent podcast game if it wasn't making you swear so much
Right.
you couldn't hear the podcast.
Yep. Andy T. Monahan says you could say those negative reviewers are sticks in the mud. Vincent says that the Steam reviews are negative because it's not just another Mud Runner or a Snow Runner game.
I mean, I definitely saw some of those, but I saw some people that were just literally complaining about the same stuff you're talking, like soft blocking and vague objectives and the crane. People seem to really hate the crane for some reason. The cranes for some reason.
Well,
I guess it wasn't really the crane. I guess it was the fact that the crane controls and camera controls are not the same for every crane. And like
they're different for every
They're basically
vehicle.
saying they should unify the crane controls.
I would agree with that. That is a problem because it does feel like every time you try a new vehicle, you're learning all over again how to do everything with that vehicle. They could definitely carry over some of those mechanics from one to the other.
And I mean, it's probably realistic to some degree that they're all different because I'm sure those are not easy machines to run in real life.
I mean, it's a real job. Yeah.
I mean, a crane operator in the Port of Long Beach, when there was still stuff coming into the Port of Long Beach, you make six figures doing that.
Oh, and you should.
Yeah.
Because everything that you're picking up is worth like
Millions
$8 million.
of dollars.
Yeah. That's a high risk job where if you make one mistake, you probably get fired.
That's a one mistake and you're out. Job, probably.
Yep.
Yeah. Or at the very least, you're downgraded to forklift.
Yeah.
You're gonna go back to where you can only ruin $100,000 of things.
Yep. Mellow Pintor says this is for CDL drivers and crane operators. Those people definitely will appreciate this. They're like, damn, they made a game about my boring ass job.
I'm surprised. Maybe there is. I'm surprised there isn't like a construction game simulator, like community on the level of like Flight Sim,
right?
Where like you can have the full setup with like or like the train games in Japan,
right? Where they have the whole
where people have the whole setup like on their computer computer and stuff.
Yep. I maybe if this gets big enough, something like that will happen. But as of right now, I don't see it happening. Also, it doesn't sound like this game is selling all that well so far. So they may go back to the tried and true and just make another Snow Runner or Mud Runner game. Dick Crane, boss, Dick Crane. Justin Horman. Justin, you must be our age if you just cracked a Fantasy Island joke. That's all I gotta say. All right, I think that's it for RoadCraft. But anyway, RoadCraft is available for PC, PS5, Xbox Series. It is $40. Look, if you are into this idea, I think it's probably worth the $40. It's a big game, but if you played a Mud Runner or Snow Runner game, I think Vincent mentioned that like these games end up being on Game Pass.
Yeah.
So a lot of people maybe have tried
heavily
these,
discounted,
right?
Well.
So maybe that's something you pick up a little bit later, but I really struggle to tell most people to pick it up at full price as is right now. So, and again, there are things about it they could fix pretty easily if they are willing to listen to fan feedback.
Yeah, farming sim in EU. Of course, there's esports. Esports for everything. Go look up the Microsoft Excel championships.
Yep.
There's competitive database building.
Aramis says, my brother is a truck driver and love Euro Truck Sim in his free time. That's crazy.
I really like American Truck Simulator.
But I couldn't imagine being a trucker and spending like 18 hours a day on
the
road.
If I was a trucker, I could see like living the fantasy where it only takes like 10 minutes to drive across California.
Yeah.
It's like, this is amazing. I'm already in Sacramento. I don't even need to sleep yet.
Yep, that would be awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff. I was telling you, a couple weekends ago, I saw a movie that one of our actors from one of our other short films made. He wrote and directed and starred in it. It's called Canoe Dig It. It's a mockumentary, kind of in the vein of like Spinal Tap, like in the like that kind of. But it's about freestyle canoeing.
Yeah.
which is real. I didn't realize this when I saw it. It wasn't until after the movie and the Q&A where I was like, no, there's a real thing. About 12 people do it competitively in like the upper Maine and up there. And it's literally just canoe dancing, but you're not supposed to call it that. Like, you're absolutely not supposed to. But it is canoe dancing. It's like, and apparently
it's like synchronized swimming with canoes, basically.
Sort of, yeah. And you can do it with multiple people, but like the big one, you may have heard of it because in 2007, a clip of one of the best freestyle canoers in the world, out of 12, went viral. It was him doing his routine to Lady in Red, which you may remember. I remembered it when they said that because I remember Attack of the Show on G4 made fun of it and talked about it. It was like I think they had like Kevin or Mac Shaw or something
canoeing,
pretend to canoe. But the director said we had to basically court these people, that guy in that video specifically, because it turned out that it's so hard to do that none of the actors could do it. So he did make friends with that guy and his wife, and they body doubled everybody in the movie because apparently it's impossible. Everyone who does it is like in their 50s, and it's because it takes that long to master a canoe. Wow. So go look up freestyle canoeing, and maybe there's a lot of footage from this guy's. I am not making this up. Canoe Symposium, like it's actually called that. Yeah. And through the making of the movie, the director actually dug up old footage from it used to be bigger. Apparently, 30 people used to compete in this back in like the 80s and 90s. And one of the clips he dug up
fell out of vogue.
That's actually in the movie. They did a performance of Peter and the Wolf.
Oh wow!
Entirely in canoes to the Tchaikovsky music.
That's crazy.
So people will turn anything into a competition.
Yep.
I mean, so like, yeah, esports isn't even the craziest thing. This is canoes.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe RoadCraft sounds boring after hearing that story.
Yeah, like where's my freestyle canoe game, motherfuckers?
All right. Let's move on to our last review for GameFace 435. We're gonna tackle a game that is generating a ton of buzz right now and is doing very well financially. It's a game called Deliver at All Costs. This game was on my radar, and one of the developers of the game reached out to me, and he's like, hey, I've been a fan since Game Trailers Invisible Walls days. I've been working on this game. If you're interested in it, like, I'll send you a review code so you can review it. And I was like, hell yeah, my eyes have been on this game already. I'd love to play it. And so he sent me a review code, and here we are reviewing Deliver at All Costs. Are you familiar with this at all, Matt?
No.
It is like old school.
Oh no, this is the old school gangster like isometric thing.
GTA-ish.
Yeah, I remember the trailer for this.
It's like a cross between old school GTA and Crazy Taxi, basically.
Mm-hmm. I remember this.
It's an isometric game where the camera stays the same, although there are a couple sections where you can move the camera a little bit. But for the most part in this game, you are just the camera's set, and left is always left on the stick, and right is always right on the stick. And it takes a couple minutes for your brain to kind of get over it. And I will admit, even after I had played this game for a few hours, my brain every once in a while will be like, no. Right is not right in this case. But for the most part, your mind does kind of get over the hump. It's almost like playing drums and using your feet and your hands at the same time. Once you get the knack of it and the hang of it, though, it definitely turns into like a full-on like GTA game with like crazy destruction and just it's really madness. It is set in 1959, so it has a little bit of that throwback flair to it. And basically, you used to be a rocket scientist, and part of the mystery of the game is figuring out what happened to you and your family in your old career. Something has happened, and now you're in this town, and you can't work in your old job anymore, and so you need to find a gig, and so you end up signing on with this delivery service. Once you start working for the delivery service, you get to know the boss, and you start learning about all this intrigue that's going on with the boss. He has this jerk for a son named Donnie, I would add, who becomes the entire villain for the entire game. I don't know for a fact that they chose that name for a reason.
I feel like this game was made in Scandinavia.
It was. How do you know that?
Just a guess.
Really? Just a guess?
No, I'm looking at all the
names. Oh, okay. And there is an ESL element to this. English as a second language. Like some of the writing and the voiceover, you can tell that it wasn't written by somebody who uses English as their first language. It just is the truth. I mean, there's some awkward moments in the plot, but it's a kind of like a heartwarming tale, ultimately. The graphics in the game, they don't look great up close, but as you'll see when the camera's pulled back, it definitely has a charm to it. No, there's no other game that really looks like it. There aren't a lot of games that are set in 1959 either, I would add. And that definitely gives it kind of a leg up on the competition in some ways. But you start working for this delivery service. You get mixed up with the dad and the jerk son who's like trying to force his dad out. Like the mom has died. And so the owner of the company is depressed and going through like all these issues. And you end up becoming the ringer delivery guy who they start to trust with some of the gigs that maybe they shouldn't be doing. So there's this kind of underground, shady, criminal element.
The gap between the eyelids and the top of the eyeball is really how you know you're playing a quality game.
Obviously, this is an indie game made by a very small team. And yeah, the visuals are rough. There's no doubt about it. Like when they show these cutscenes up close, it is not flattering.
I like the art style, but the actual execution is
yep.
You were never meant to see that character that close.
Right. And you'll see, though, once we start playing the game actually looks good, and the destruction and the physics in this game are what it's all about, and they look amazing. Like, one of the cool things I noticed is, like, just the physics for the cars in this. The other technical problem with this is that there is just insane amounts of loading. Like, the world isn't even all that big, but you can drive on a little, like, patch, and then you have to load in the next patch or whatever. But one of the cool things I've noticed is, like, sometimes when it goes to load, and you're going downhill, when it opens to the next section of the game, your vehicle has picked up speed going downhill, and it's now going faster than it was when the load started. So the physics in this game are incredible, and they actually play into the mechanics of the game because you're a delivery guy, and eventually you get this pickup truck, and you put stuff in the back of it, and it's all physics driven. And they challenge you to drive without losing your cargo. So one of the first things that you get is a big load of watermelons that are like rotting. And so they tell you to take them to this place where you can clean them and then you can paint them basically to make them look like they're not rotting or whatever. But you have to haul like 60 watermelons in the back of your truck. And if you take corners way too hard, the watermelons fly out. And so if you get to your destination... Yeah, that's a joke. Yeah. So you're using an old man's car, and he left the car in reverse when you get into it. But it also is a very clever way to show the player right out of the gate that everything is destructible. And this game has little flashes of brilliance like that all the way through it. The more you play it, you start discovering cool little things like that. So anyway, physics are a big part of the game in general. You need to deliver all those melons. There's another part where you have like a gigantic swordfish that's in the back of your vehicle, and it keeps like kicking as you're trying to deliver it, and it will actually send your vehicle flying off the road. The physics of the fish being in the back of your truck, like sending it off the road. There's another mission where you collect a bunch of fireworks, and as the fireworks are exploding in the back of your vehicle as you're driving it around, the vehicle gets shifted to the sides of the road because of the explosions that are happening in the back. So physics are a part of this game all the way through. In how your cars handle, how they take turns. The vehicles feel amazing in this. Once you get used to right is always right, left is always left on the analog stick, you get to the point where you're like power sliding around turns. Like you get used to using the pickup because you use it for the bulk of the game. You get real good with it eventually. And then you start to really understand how the physics in the game work and how realistic they are and how they add a lot to the actual game. The destruction, the physics of the destruction adds a lot to the game as well. So basically how the game works is you wake up every day in your crappy roach hotel. You do a little something in the hotel room because, again, you haven't forgotten your past. So you're building like little mini rockets and things like that in your hotel room. And coworkers will come over and they're like, dude, what the hell are you doing? Why are you building these rockets in this hotel room? There's a whole sub-story to all of that of you getting back to what you did before you ended up in this town and trying to keep people from discovering. Like Donnie, the jerk boss's son, he's trying to figure out where you came from and why you're this smart guy that is doing this menial job, basically. So he's trying to uncover your past, and that's a whole other subplot that goes into it. Like them trying to figure out who you were and you trying to hide it from them. So how it works is you wake up, you do your little thing in your hotel room, you go get in your vehicle, and then you drive to work. You get to the delivery service. They give you your mission for the day. You go out and do it. Once you finish the mission, you tap up on the D-pad. They'll give you another one. Generally, you get about 2 missions per day. And when you finish off your missions, you go back to the delivery service. There's another cutscene where you talk to the owner who you're seeing right here, Harold. He's the owner whose wife died and whatever. He starts to trust you. He starts giving you bigger jobs, riskier jobs, and things like that. So you come back, do your cutscene, finish the day, go back to the hotel, sleep for the day, wake up, rinse and repeat, do it all over again. And that's kind of the gameplay loop and the way the game works. About 2 missions per day, finish the missions, go home, sleep, wake up, do it all over again. As you play through the game, you collect parts and other stuff that you can use to upgrade the truck that you use. You get like a boom lift. This is like the winch episode, by the way, of GameFace. Because you get a winch in this game too. But you get like a winch, you get like a pole, like a lift thing that you can install. So over the course of the game, you're upgrading your delivery truck to do more and more stuff. And they integrate that into the gameplay. And that's just kind of the basic crux of the game. It's a very charming game. It's not a very pretty game. But it kind of sucked me in. And ultimately, I just had a lot of fun playing it. And I am a gameplay first guy, and I love the gameplay in this. Like, at a certain point, I just gave up trying missions and just had fun just driving around, just tearing the whole place up. You can pick up any vehicle in this and get in it as long as it's parked. You can't run up to a vehicle that someone's already driving and pull them out of it and take it. So you can't be a criminal in this, I guess is the best way to put it. But any vehicle that's just sitting there parked on the street, you can jump in and drive it. I just stuck with the truck for the most part because it has all the upgrades that you've installed into it. And after a while, you get really good driving it. And so I just generally stuck with the truck that they give you to deliver with for the most part. But I've had a ton of fun with this game. It costs $30.
It's free on the Epic Game Store right now.
Oh, it is?
Until like later today.
Oh, really? Go get it, people. If you start watching this B-roll, you're like, that looks like fun, go claim it right now on Epic Game Store. I hope it's there tomorrow when people watch the archive.
I don't think it is.
Really?
No, chat saying today is the changeover.
Well, there you go. That's a bonus for showing up and watching this show live.
That's what you
on
get
Twitch.
live.
Seriously, you get advantages of doing that. You're going to get this game for free right now.
Greylock says Sifu and Gigapocalypse are also free.
Yeah, I saw that. I did not see that this game was.
I didn't see that either.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So you can go claim this on Epic Game Store right now and get
Vincent
it for free.
says the changeover's tomorrow morning.
Okay.
So if it's after Thursday morning...
Which, when you're watching the archive of this, it's too late.
Yeah. Thursday morning American time.
Yeah. It'll be too late at that point. But yeah, if you like old school GTA, it's not quite as depraved as even the old school GTA games, but it has the same vibe. It has like that kind of throwback gangster era angle to it. Obviously, the isometric camera angle, driving around cities, causing mayhem. That part of GTA is there. And then the crazy taxi part is that the whole job is really delivering stuff.
I didn't expect to get here so fast.
Yeah. So here's the first thing that you deliver.
Is some fucking back strength there, sir.
And you'll start to see in this B-roll, like, some of the...
Whoa!
Yeah.
The man just lifted his own truck.
Well, then as you start driving it, the fireworks start going off, and your truck starts getting tossed all over the road from the fireworks. Yeah. It's like, this game also caught me off guard consistently. Like, every mission was like, what? You're really going to make me do that? And then the sound of it sounds unique, and then the actual implementation of it is far more creative than you thought it was going to be. And mission after mission does this. I love the mission variety in this. While you are always delivering things, the cargo is what makes the difference. What's in the back of your truck changes how the truck handles, how you get from one place to another. Here's the map. The map could definitely be better. It's split into like 5 or 6 different regions, and you can zoom in to see a local version of it, but there's very little detail. You don't need it. Basically, if you just follow the blue waypoint everywhere, it will take you exactly where you need to go. Also,
where is this? Is this Florida or somewhere?
I don't know, actually. I think it's New York.
Really?
I think so.
With palm trees?
Oh, you're right. Maybe it's L.A. No, it is L.A. because there is like a fake sunset strip in this. So, yeah, I think it's L.A. Or at least Southern California.
Off of San Clemente. Sort of.
Yeah, basically.
The font makes me think like Louisiana almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, what else can I say about this? Like I said, the steering does take a minute to get your brain kind of over the hump. Once you do, though, you'll be just driving like a demon exactly where you want it to go. There are bugs in this game. I had one issue where the game started stuttering, and it just bottomed out and froze and hard crashed.
Sounds like a memory leak.
And I think it was. And then the really crappy part about that is that the missions in this, you've been seeing how there's that little notepad that pops up on the right-hand side of the screen showing you when you've accomplished a mission and what the next one is. Some of the missions in this are like 8 or 9 parts. And if the game crashes, you have to start it all over again. The whole chain of missions. And that's when I quit.
Talk about 1955.
Seriously. And that's when I quit. Like the last time it happened, I'm like, I'm done.
Wait for some stability patches and come
yeah,
back to it.
yeah. I mean, seriously. But I mean, I played it 8 or 9 hours without having something like that happen. Maybe you're unlucky and it happens a little bit earlier for you. I don't know. But for me, I got to play it for quite a while before I experienced a real bug. Here's kind of like what the puzzles are. Back your truck over this. Now, how do you get these rotten melons in there? We got to climb up. The other thing, too, is that the game does have platforming, and it's pretty bad. Like, you can jump. It's like the loosiest, goosiest jump I've ever seen in a video game.
Yeah, that looks like GTA 3.
It really does, yeah. There's definitely a GTA angle to this, in more ways than one. Not just like the overhead view.
I feel like this is what I wanted Mafia 4 to be.
Yeah, seriously. I'd rather play something like this than what they're making. I'll be honest with you. So anyway, this game is called Deliver at All Costs. It is $30, or you can get it for free right now at Epic Games Store. It's available for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series.
What are you doing?
Well, see, at first I didn't realize what the mission was.
Oh, Jesus.
That I needed to keep all the melons in there. I failed it the first time.
You've lost so many melons.
Yeah, you can see there's a counter
I lost
there.
so many melons, lad. Off of nothing. Right out the gate.
Yeah, and then you take it to this thing where they like wash them, and then you take it to another station where they paint the melons so that they look like melons because they're all rotted or whatever. It's
You sure you're not a criminal?
Ruthina77 asks, why do you think that indie or small developers aren't more Max Payne style, not tone with their cutscenes? Saves money and time, doesn't it? It does, yeah.
But at the same time, it's hard to draw.
It is,
so
yeah. You gotta pay for the artist.
Yeah,
and,
at least this using existing game assets is probably the cheapest way to do it.
Yeah. Although it can be embarrassing at times. But you can see there
100%.
was the end of that mission chain. Look how long it is. See,
Yeah.
if it crashes, you have to do all those steps all over again. And that's what happened to me, and that's when I quit the game. I will come back to this. I was having fun with this right until the end, until I had the bug. And also, I kind of run out of time before I need to come and talk to you guys about it here on GameFace as well. So I will definitely keep my eye open for patches for this game.
Can you hit people?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. In fact, I'm just going to fast forward to this B-roll and get to the end here where I just kind of go berserk. Here's where you're doing the upgrades. So one of the bonus upgrades I got was hydraulic doors. I had just accidentally collected enough stuff to build that as well, in addition to the other stuff that I built. So it's a very simple interface. You basically have the resources or you don't. You click a button and it just builds the stuff. And now you have a little crane on your truck. I have like 3 or 4 upgrades at this point. And there's some goofy stuff like here, watch this. So I didn't realize what they're wanting me to do. So I get to the circle and it automatically offloads it. And then I try. This game has a lot of fun accidents, I guess is the best way to put it, that are entertaining. Like, you don't look at them and like, oh, this game's a piece of crap. You're like, oh, that's kind of funny and cool. There's just kind of emergent stuff.
As long as it doesn't stop you.
Right, yeah. Yep. And any game that has like real physics and stuff like that in it, they're just fun to fiddle around with. They're just fun toys.
Unless you're forgetting to set the parking brake.
Right. Exactly. And now here's me just going crazy. I'm just like, oh man, I'm just going to go and just destroy everything and have fun and just see what this game will do and how far the destruction goes. It goes a long freaking way, man. You can destroy pretty much anything that you want in this game. And this is just fun all on its own. Just driving around and just breaking stuff up and seeing what happens. Like watching stuff explode and buildings crumble and blah, blah, blah. So this is a fun game. It's a fun little toy to fiddle around with. You can totally run over people. If you hit them, they'll fly with the physics. And if you stop, perfect timing, I just ran someone over. And if you stop, they will come and get you. They will run and drag you out of the car and kind of beat you up. And it doesn't really do anything. It just delays you. So you have to lay there for like 5 seconds.
Oh,
yeah.
He's still getting up. Okay.
You have to lay there for like 5 seconds before they let you go. It's just basically an inconvenience more than anything. It doesn't really affect the gameplay all that much. So, they give you plenty of leeway to just drive around and be a maniac and do whatever the heck you want, blow stuff up, and just have fun with it like a toy if you want to. Vincent asks, is the destruction persistent? It doesn't all reset. It resets. Yeah. It doesn't stay blowed up after you go into another mission. When you come back, all this stuff will have reset, and you can just destroy it again, which is fun. So maybe that's the right angle to take on it anyway. But anyway, that is Deliver at All Costs. It's $30. If you're watching the archive of this, it's probably too late to get it off Epic Games Store. But if you're watching right now, you should go grab it because I had a ton of fun playing this game. So I want to thank the person, I think his name was Daniel, who sent me the code and reached out to me about this game. I'm glad I got to play it, and I will give it another go once it's patched up a little bit. But yeah, there you go. That's Deliver at All Costs, and it's $30. All right.
That'd be a fun way to spin like a RoadCraft style game. Is like you have to clean up after the events of a bunch of different games that they don't actually name, but you can like tell what they are.
Even though you don't name them, you
Yeah.
can still know what. That's clever, actually. Yeah. Isn't there a game called The Cleaner where you go and clean up murder scenes?
Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, it's basically, I'm thinking like Marvel Comics Damage Control, which it was the series about the guys who basically clean up after the superhero fights.
You mean like Diddy's personal assistant?
Yes, much like that.
Holy moly, man.
Except hopefully the Hulk wasn't doing that.
Holy moly. The stuff that had been coming out about that trial. Holy moly. I mean, I always knew
Discovery indeed.
I always knew he was a bad dude. I didn't know he
Oh,
was
wow.
that bad. Holy crap. All right. Anyway, now it's time for the Lightning News Round, where we round up some of the biggest news stories of the week that weren't big enough for us to talk about them for more than 5 minutes, and we talk about them very quickly. We have another big episode of the Lightning Round this week, another huge news week. In fact, I ended up cutting like 5 stories out of this, and still we have like 12 or something like that. So another big Lightning Round. Are you ready to get through these, Matt? Mm-hmm. All right, here we go. The first story for the Lightning Round for episode 435. So, Matt, The Last of Us Part 2 season finale happened this past Sunday. We're not going to get into whether it was good or bad. It wasn't great.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it?
I don't care.
Yeah.
I am one of the 55% drop here.
Yeah. The season finale for The Last of Us Season 2 on HBO, the audience fell 55% from Season 1. Matt, you and I work in television. That is just catastrophic.
Not a good hold.
That is catastrophic. Like, questioning whether Season 3 should happen, catastrophic.
Well, a little late for that. They're already
Yeah.
But I think this season. I mean, I've only seen about half of it. I'm really struggling to get through it.
Here's what I'm shocked by, Matt. All the outlets that reviewed the whole season before it started. What were they thinking?
I don't know.
They were all positive. A couple of them did say not quite as good as Season 1. None of them were realistic about Season 2 at all. They way over-reviewed it, which is why they're games journalists and not entertainment journalists.
Right.
But those reviews that came out before the season launched are nonsense.
No, they're bonkers. I don't know what they were watching. Like, and I'm not saying there's no good stuff in it.
Right.
There's a lot of
There's
good stuff
definitely
in
moments,
it.
yeah.
But like, I mean, and mainly, I mean, I am not a purist about adaptational things.
Me
Like,
either.
you have to adapt things. You have
Yeah,
to change
I'm
things.
cool with it.
Tons of stuff got adaptational changes in the first season. Like, there's a bunch of stuff in the first season that is not in the game or completely different from the game. And I thought most of that was all great.
They did a great job.
I do not understand what they are doing here. Like, every episode has some change that I'm like, why? That changes so much, thematically changes so much of what the story,
The
overall
core.
story is going to become as you go further into this. And I'm like, I mean, maybe you've got another plan that's going to be just as good or better. Like, we won't know for like 4 years because they're going to do 2 more seasons of this before they finish the whole thing. But I'm like, I don't know what you're doing. The blueprint is right there already. I don't think there's a lot I would change structurally about The Last of Us Part 2 to adapt it into an ongoing series. Obviously, you cannot have her running around like for 4 episodes just murdering people.
Right.
Like that. I mean, there's people that's like, oh, there's no murder machine. Of course, there's not, because that's not interesting television.
Right.
Like, you're not going to have a whole episode where
she
she
just
just
murders
kills 40 people. That's not TV. But like, it all seems so rushed. It all seems so fast. And like, there's so much softening of things and so much explanation of things that were not didn't like. There's points where you almost feel like the character's going to turn to the camera and be like, "This is ambiguous." It feels like it's holding your hand in a way the first season simply did not.
I don't want to spoil anything, but like the very ending, like the cliffhanger that they end the season on, I struggled to figure out whether it was real or not, the way that they pieced it together. And again, I don't want to spoil anything, but the way that they approached the final scene, it makes you wonder if it really happened or not. And then of course, right after it ends, they have the podcast where they explain everything. And sure enough, it absolutely did happen.
Yeah.
But the way that they cut it and filmed it, it made it seem like it could have not been reality.
I have a lot of just in terms of having like one particular thing that Ellie does, not in the finale, but Ellie does it intentionally in the game, and she does it by accident in the show. And I think it weakens the entire thesis of the story.
Yeah.
And I don't understand what they're doing.
Well, the good news is that other people also figured it out who don't know the games. Even people who aren't gamers figured out that this season is not very good, and they stopped watching it. So, I guess there's going to be a season 3.
Yeah, I think even a 55% drop on the finale is still pretty damn good.
Probably
HBO
2 or 3 million people.
I mean,
or
HBO's
something.
stock just went up over $10 a share today.
Did
so,
it?
Yeah, big news, big money, no whammies.
Wow.
I mean, Zaslav just wants to sell the fucking thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all they need. I imagine this will continue, no problem. I mean, they'll definitely finish this series. It's one of their only big hits, even by the standards of what this.
Yeah, White Lotus
season's
isn't
doing.
going to put the money in the coffers.
No, not so much.
Although a lot of people seem to like it.
I mean, White Lotus is good,
Yeah.
but like, yeah, it's not a. But even like that, like I have not seen people talk about this.
Right.
Like the first season, at the
Couldn't get away from
days after, like there's still just chatter,
Like my aunt
chatter.
is talking
yeah,
about
like
it.
people, yeah.
Not
And
about this season.
no one's saying
It's
anything.
crickets.
No one has anything to say, and it's just like that's remarkable to me.
Yep. All right, next up in the lightning round. We've been talking about a game on GameFace for the last year called Mind's Eye. It is a GTA-ish clone coming from someone who used to work at Rockstar named Leslie Benzies.
Oh, that thing.
And it does not look very good.
No.
And other people have figured out that it does not look very good and have been posting negative comments about the game online. And the other founder of the studio, not Leslie Benzies, the other founder has come out and said that he believes that there is a coordinated paid bot campaign against the game online, and that bots are going to every trailer, every article, and saying that they hate the game, and that there's some mystery competitor out there, or somebody, or some entity that has decided that this game Mind's Eye, they're going to spend a ton of money to make sure that it does horribly. Matt, do you think there's any way that this could be true or plausible?
I mean, I do think it's plausible in the sense that you can definitely do that with that. Like the bot thing is a problem now on the internet. Like the dead internet theory is honestly pretty believable.
How do you go to hire a bot? Like, who do you go
don't
to?
hire it. You can pay certain services, or you can buy like software that lets you do that.
Oh, really?
essentially. It is very. I mean, most of the comments you see on Facebook these days are just bots talking to each other.
Well, they also came out this week that a former developer of Fortnite said that 90% of matches are that almost all matches are 90% bots now.
Yep.
And
so yeah, your nephew didn't actually win all those games,
right?
did they?
He did. Yeah, they did.
But in this case, like I can't imagine anyone actually cares about this game enough to do that.
Who would care enough? Even Rockstar, that you can see the game is nowhere near as good as Grand Theft Auto 6.
Like
Even
if you
Rockstar
told me this was like the Saints Row reboot, I'd believe you.
Oh yeah, exactly. And we know what happened there.
In fact, this doesn't even have that much.
No, I think this is
personality.
worse.
Yeah,
I think this is way worse. You're also fighting robots for the most part, and you know how much I hate fighting robots in video games. Like, this game just looks mediocre.
Yeah.
AF.
Shane believes robots are for loving, not for fighting.
Yep. Look, anyone watching trailers for this game can pick up on the fact that this game is not very good.
This looks like a fake game you'd make to put in a TV in a movie.
Yeah. So this dude at this studio has lost his frickin' mind. He also thinks that this game is way more important than it really is.
I mean, if you had put all this time and effort and money and your lifespan into this thing, you probably would also come up with ridiculous explanations to avoid having to admit to yourself what's actually going on.
Yeah, which is the game's crap.
Yeah.
And looks derivative, and no one's going to care.
Maybe it's not crap. We haven't played it yet.
Right.
But, like, it sure doesn't look like anything that's going to make my... I ain't drafting this one. I'll tell you that much.
Well, it comes out, like, next month.
Okay.
So it comes out in June.
I don't know if I would believe that at the beginning of this year. This game has been, like, nebulous for... Because wasn't this thing basically... It was almost originally... Was this...
Like a platform called Everywhere.
Yes, like the Everywhere thing. That's what I was thinking about.
And this is the first game from that platform.
And it's all supposed to take place inside the platform.
Right. And my guess is the sequel will also take place inside everywhere or whatever. I mean, I see what they're trying to do here. The bottom line is the game needs to be something people want to play.
Right.
And I don't care how many times you splash Leslie Benzie's name across the screen. Most people have no clue who he is, by the way.
Very few people know who that is.
Like, it's not going to get it done, even for people like us. Mm-hmm. So sometimes you just got to face reality, and I think that's what the people at Mind's Eye are going to have to do here in about 3 freaking weeks. They're going to realize when nobody buys the game that it was not bots, or they'll say that the bots are the reason that nobody bought the game. Probably what's happening is they're getting data saying that nobody cares, and so they're trying to soften the blow already. That'd be my guess.
The problem is bots, but the problem is the other form of bot, as in not.
Right. That's true. Okay, next up on the lightning round. So we talked last week, Matt, about how Nintendo has, in the end user licensing agreement for Nintendo Switch 2, has given itself the ability to brick your console remotely if it believes that you are pirating games or altering your console. And we were like, I think ultimately came out on the side of okay, sure, you should be allowed to do that.
Don't pirate games.
Yep. Well, as it turns out, this week, Ars Technica started doing some digging, and it has discovered...
Which is another word for actually read the EULA for the first time.
Right, which nobody else does.
No one fucking does.
And it did, and it found out that the PlayStation 5 also has the same ability. Yeah. That Sony has written it into its EULA that if it wants to brick your console remotely because it thinks you're using it for piracy, it can 100% do that. And I think we even said last week that, like, if PlayStation or Xbox wanted to do it, we'd be totally cool with it. And here it is. Yeah. PlayStation has done it.
Obviously, the concern is that they, you see the people's like, I didn't do anything, and they banned me for da-da-da. I'm like,
Yeah.
Sure.
It's like people...
I just don't know if I believe that.
Right.
Like, I understand how frustrating it is that you cannot... Yes, I had to reset a password on a Sony account, a PlayStation account a few months ago, and finding a human being through their help system to... I just need you to reset the password because I don't have any of the things... It was a throwaway account that I need to recover because there's a save on it I need, and it was just a nightmare. It took a week. It took weeks to get
try to deal with YouTube sometime, Matt. There are no humans. So YouTube has this feature where you can tag games to your videos. So we do that, and we're like, hey, after we talk about this game on GameFace, at the end of it all, I'll put a little shop icon there. So if you listen to us talk about it, and you're like, yeah, I want to buy that game, well, then buy it, and we'll get like $1 or $2 if you buy it through that link or whatever. Within a day, all those links are gone. They just wipe them out. And if you click on the why that happens, they're like, oh, it could be a conflict of interest, or the owner of the product may not want you to have it's all BS. It's not what's happening. So these links are just disappearing. There is no one to talk to about it or ask about it. There just isn't. You can find like these talking groups where people try to find a problem and they all go, and like no one ever who works at the company ever interacts with any. You can find that stuff, but you can't fix it. So you just have to keep using the broken thing until YouTube figures it out and fixes it on its own. It is infuriating. But everything's that way. You can never talk to humans anymore. Like, you can't even just, like, say, customer service, and get the customer service anymore.
That's kind of
that used to be a hack that you could use.
Representative.
Right, representative!
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the whole point of, like, some of that AI stuff is, like, the idea is that you'll just be stuck in an AI loop forever. They'll never have to hire a human being again, and more importantly, the elites will never have to talk to the customers ever again. You will
it's also what they're doing with like Medicare and Social Security. They're cutting all the people that work in those departments. They're telling people to use a phone call. You call in, you just go into an infinite loop. You never get help.
It is the most boring form of cyberpunk imaginable.
That's a good way to put it. So anyway, it's not just Nintendo. PlayStation also has that right. I also wouldn't be surprised if it's in the Xbox EULA as well.
Fuck with your hardware, people. It's just not worth it.
Just buy the games and play the games. It's that easy. Next up on the lightning round, we just hinted at some Switch 2 stuff just a minute ago. Well, the big story for Switch 2 for this week is that it's out there. Nintendo has sent them to retailers.
But nobody knew because it looks exactly the same as the Switch 1 box.
They sent them to retailers. There are some Targets that have them in the cage on wheels sitting on their floors so people can see the Switch 2 is there. How long is it until someone just rolls in there and just rolls the whole cart out with all? And what are you going to do about it? You watch I don't know if this happens everywhere else, but like they don't even stop shoplifters anymore. You literally can go into like a Home Depot and walk out with like $1,000 saw, and they'll just watch you walk to your car.
Yeah, well, because the merchandise is insured better than the employee.
Right. If the employee gets killed, they lose their ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they don't want their employees to interject. You could probably roll into a Target in California and roll out with the whole cart of Switch 2. So anyway, that's one part of the story. The other part is that because of this, because they've sent the units out already to stores, people have them. Mm-hmm. It's like if you're a manager at a GameStop, you don't think that the unit that you pre-ordered, you just gave it to yourself already. Of course I would.
Yeah, but you can't do anything with it.
Right. Well, as it turns out, you need a day one patch to do most stuff with it, but you can boot it up. And so videos are now out there of Switch 2 unboxing. There was one that went up yesterday. It stayed up for a couple hours and was taken down. And then some dude in Russia got one somehow and put up an unboxing video. That was still up. That ran overnight, all night, and was still up this morning. It's on Sifted right now, curated, if you want to watch it.
It's a lot harder to take down.
Well, it's on YouTube, though.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah. And they had left it up. Maybe their ninjas just hadn't got to it yet. It's probably down now, would be my guess. But anyway, it's just Nintendo has created its own problem by shipping these units to retailers.
Swan Senpai says he gets his Friday.
Really? How do you get yours Friday? Oh, he's got something going on. He dropped the emoji there. He's got a friend who is a manager or something, probably at a store.
Or, I mean, he's in Europe. It could be just some shipping thing.
Yeah. So anyway, Nintendo just made a problem of its own volition. It's
I mean, shipping schedules are what they are, and they're even more chaotic than normal because of all the tariff chaos. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. Whatever. I mean, you can't do anything with them.
Right. Well, you can boot it up, and so people got to hear how Nintendo fans are. They're insane. They got to hear the boot up music for Switch 2 and lost their minds. So, If
you're listening to the podcast version of this, imagine I'm doing the jerk-off motion with no interest.
Which, if you're watching the video version, he's actually not doing it.
I kind of did it.
So anyway, Nintendo caused its own problems. There's going to be leaks now until June 5th, launch day for Switch 2. It's like they can zap that video from Russia.
Yeah, spoilers, there's a Switch 2 in the box.
Yeah.
This is such a non-story.
But Nintendo fans, it is a story, Matt. Like, okay, they're obsessed with it.
Well, luckily, Nintendo fans do not matter in terms of what is and is not news, except for themselves.
If people care, it's news. That's the definition of news.
I think we need to change that definition. The definition of news is a thing that just happened. Really.
It's the thing that Matt cares about.
It's the thing that just happened. Because it's
That's true. Newsworthy. All right, next up in the lightning round. I did not have this on my bingo card for 2025, Matt, but Star Wars Battlefront 2 is making a gigantic comeback right now.
That's the Andor power, I guess.
What is it?
I don't know. I mean, it happened alongside the finale of Andor, so I have to believe that people watched Andor and were like, I remember when I loved stuff, and went back and played the last thing they loved as Star Wars for multiplayer, and that was this.
It just set its concurrent record on Steam.
Also, I'm really disturbed by the number of people who be like, I'm really happy I'm playing this. I haven't played this since I was a kid. I'm like, this game is 7 years old.
Well, you figure if you're 15,
yeah,
you were 8 when it came out, and you probably considered yourself a kid, It's crazy that this game is. I mean, it's nuts.
They got the developers coming. We want to get the team back together and make a 3. I'm just like, good luck with that.
That's
guys,
not happening.
With EA,
that's definitely not happening. But it just set. It's been
although I wonder if Lucasfilm maybe owns the rights to the Battlefront name, they could maybe just contract their own people to do it.
Maybe. Vincent says it's €2 on Xbox and PlayStation stores.
Oh yeah, that'll do it.
That'll help too. But still. It's crazy that this 8 years later or 7 years after it came out, it set its concurrent record on Steam.
I agree with Toon Medic. Bring back Conquest mode.
Yeah.
The Conquer the Galaxy.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I can't believe they never added that.
Vincent says the Steam record is a bit misleading since it didn't launch on Steam. Yeah, that's a good point. So you're right. It came to Steam much later after the hype had died down. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. Good point there, Vincent.
It does have a good campaign too.
It does.
And apparently the I think Eden Versio is in Ahsoka Season 2.
Oh, really?
Next year. I believe I saw that. I think Eden is showing up in live action soon.
Ahsoka is the new star of Star Wars, I think.
Since you can't do any more Andor, yes. She is sort of the face of that era. I mean, what was it, Mando? But we'll see how that movie goes.
Yeah.
But Ahsoka Season 2, they're shooting that right now, I think, and that's going to be late next year. That is, from what I've heard, that might be the last live action Star Wars project on Disney Plus until 2030.
Wow. So
animated stuff and movies will happen, But it sounds like the TV shows are done for a while after Ahsoka season 2.
You may remember that one of my really good friends died like a year and a half ago. And I talked about it here on GameFace or whatever. And he was the biggest Star Wars fan I know other than you. And he had a tattoo of her on his arm. Mm-hmm. He was way out ahead of it. He was watching like the Clone Wars stuff. And it was like, oh, she's like the most badass.
Great. She started as kind of the annoying kid sidekick. And by like season 3, she is the best character in the show.
He had a tattoo of her way before anybody was on her. And he kept telling me, like, you got to watch it. You got to watch it. You got to watch it.
As soon as she's no longer wearing the halter top. Yeah. Anyway, the 14-year-old wearing the halter top. Very weird. But if she switches to a lot more like a battle suit kind of thing, as soon as if you see her in that, you know it's going to be good.
Yep.
That's where in the Star Trek world they call it growing the beard, where they figure out what the show's supposed to be and who the characters are. Because when when Jonathan Frakes grew his beard in season 2 of Next Generation, the show got really good. So with the equivalent of that in Clone Wars is when Ahsoka changes her outfit to the bodysuit.
Well, anyway, if you missed Battlefront 2, it is like alive right now. It's like it was when it launched. There are tons of people to play with. If you liked the game and you were sad that people stopped playing, go back. Someone else must have mentioned in chat that like a Nightwing 3060, it was a PlayStation Plus game. So a lot of you guys have it, you own it, and maybe you just delete it off your hard drive. If you want to play it again, it's kicking right now. Go do it.
I also wonder if some of that came from the AI Darth Vader in Fortnite. Where I've like seeing that around was like, oh, I remember let's play an actual Star Wars game.
Yeah.
You know, and then like I've seen some pretty great clips
from Fortnite,
from Battlefront.
Oh, from Battlefront.
Week, where like
there's one where it's a good game.
There's one where it's on Hoth and Vader throws his saber at a snowspeeder and hits it and it blows up and falls, and as it falls, somebody else blows up the AT-AT that it's like right below, and that falls over towards Vader. It's really good. I mean, it's that old school DICE Battlefield sort of like. Every once in a while, you get that thing where a whole bunch of shit happens at once, and you're just like, that was amazing. Like just the happenstance of stuff that used to be the appeal of Battlefield, and now you're just sort of hoping the sky stays where it is.
That's a good point. Next up in the lightning round, we're starting to get some information on the sequel to Cyberpunk 2077, which is crazy because The Witcher 4 just went into full production at CD Projekt Red, but today, it was announced that Cyberpunk 2077, the sequel, which is now called Cyberpunk 2, by the way, they've shared that information, went into full pre-production today.
So we've missed 2,076 of them?
I guess. And they also...
And they did that one first?
Yeah.
Crazy.
And they also released some first information on the game. It is going to have 2 cities.
All right.
So it's going to have Night City, and a city that they described as kind of like Chicago, but insane.
Interesting.
So there will be 2 cities.
That seems redundant, but okay.
Right.
I mean, you got to expand it. You've already got Night City built.
Yeah, why not? If you're going to build another city, why get rid of Night City?
I wonder if they'll be connected, if they'll be a part of the same map, or if it's
I think they're going to be a part of the one game.
So now I'm wondering what that city is.
Right.
Because the geography of California is pretty well established in the tabletop RPG. Like Night City is a certain place. Night City is very much what it is. Curious.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So anyway, it's crazy that CD Projekt Red is dripping us information for both The Witcher and Cyberpunk 2 at once. Like, they must have really staffed up.
Yeah, they must be doing these somewhat simultaneously.
Yeah, which is great, which means we don't have to wait for forever to get Cyberpunk 2. How do you feel about that title, Cyberpunk 2?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Close. I mean, probably for clarity's sake, better.
I see why. Yeah.
What are you going to call it? 2078?
Right. Because the game takes place across, 2 years or whatever?
Yeah.
It would actually be like 2079 or something.
Yeah, it's just too confusing. Like, calling it 2077 was good in the sense that, like, that's what the RPG was called.
Oh,
so
okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
You want to basically make sure that or that's when it was set, I guess. It differentiated from just calling it Cyberpunk.
Yeah. Well, it lets you know it's, like, far into the future. So.
Yeah, but now you don't have to... you don't have to tell people what Cyberpunk is. You can just say 2. So, you remember that thing you liked? After a while, here it is, and maybe you'll like it on launch date.
5 months after launch, maybe you'll like. You're right. Maybe you'll like it on launch day this time.
They should just call it Cyberpunk Good.
Good at launch.
Good this time.
Good this time. All right, next up in the lightning round. I told you there's a bunch of stories this week. All kinds of hell's been breaking loose. Speaking of hell breaking loose, literally, we found out this week that Hellblade 2 is coming to PlayStation 5. At this point, every Xbox game is coming to PlayStation 5. Just accept it, assume it, it's happening. This game did not do particularly well even on Game Pass. A lot of people didn't even bother to play it. Matt and I both enjoyed it. Yeah. And it is visually incredible, but not a great game to play, I would argue. Again, this is one of those games where the actual playing of the game was its biggest issue. But this game is coming to PlayStation 5 this summer, so within a couple months. It's going to have a bunch of new features, and they're also releasing a physical edition as well. So you'll finally be able to buy a physical version of this, even though nobody wanted to even play it for free on Game Pass, basically. I think they're just trying to save face on this game a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth trying to spread the word.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good. I mean, I didn't think it was amazing.
Yeah.
But, like, technically it is.
Yeah.
I mean, technically it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But, like, it didn't grab me.
There's just nothing else like it, really.
Yeah, but yeah, you should try it
Mm-hmm.
if you can. If you don't, if you have better that PlayStation owners can get a chance to try it.
How much would you pay for this on PlayStation 5?
Like $40.
Right. That's the max for me, $40. Even that might be a little much.
Especially because I think the first one started as a PlayStation exclusive.
Did it?
I think so.
I don't remember that, actually.
Because they were Ninja Theory. They were
right. They were
PlayStation
working on
second party basically.
Yep, they were.
They did
the girl with the red hair.
Olivia Munn as a ninja. You know.
Oh, Heavenly Sword.
Heavenly Sword. Yeah.
Yeah. Olivia Munn.
I always thought she looked like Olivia.
Oh, really?
I thought she looked a little bit like
with
her.
red hair.
Red haired.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I think they're trying to save face a little bit and get this game out to some more people, get some more people to consume it, because I'm sure Ninja Theory would like to continue doing this franchise, but it's hard to rationalize after the performance of the game on Game Pass and
how long it took. To
get this this game was in development for a long time, and it's really short. That's why it's hard to recommend for more than $40.
Especially because the first game was kind of an experiment. It's like, here's how we can just spend indie money to make something that looks AAA.
Right.
And I have to, just from the time it took, I have to imagine they did not spend indie money for this one.
Nope. Yeah. So anyway, again, coming summer to PS5, but also with new features, and you will be able to, if you originally own it for Xbox or PC, you will get all the new stuff for free.
Yeah.
So all those upgrades and the new features and stuff, you'll get all that stuff. Yeah.
I do hope they keep using that woman for performance stuff.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Because she's one of the best talents in that going right now. She's kind of could be the Andy Serkis of video games.
The female version. Okay, next up in the lightning round, we got some more Switch 2 news. So Nintendo has been going through the catalog of Switch 1 games, working on backwards compatibility. It announced that it has now gone through 15,000 games. There are 15,000 Switch 1 games.
And 2,000 of them have the word hentai in them.
More than that, probably. But it has gone through 15,000 games, and ultimately it has come to the conclusion that there are just 118 of those 15,000 that have issues on Switch 2. So it looks like backwards compatibility is going to be pretty awesome on Switch 2. So if you're worried about it, you're worried that you have a bunch of games, I think the only first-party game that doesn't work 100% is Clubhouse games. But I think they said they think they're going to have that ready for launch as well. So everything's looking pretty good, people, as far as backwards compatibility is concerned. It looks like every game that you own is going to be able to play flawlessly on Switch 2 without much concern, which is a pretty cool deal. Next up on Lightning Round, Microsoft is finally starting to leverage its back catalog that it paid $70 billion for. So it put out this trailer this week for Game Pass. All Activision's old stuff, even the Atari 2600 stuff, is coming to Game Pass. But the cool thing is that like they're creating like these competitive things around these old games to kind of spark interest and get people to play them. They're not all Atari 2600 games. Even some old PC games like MechWarrior are coming. Like, this is just the beginning.
Does it mean we get Mech Assault at some point?
Should.
Save some of that shit.
I mean, you should.
You know what stupid old Xbox game I want to see now is Wrath Unleashed.
Oh.
You remember that one?
Yeah.
It was like a turn-based strategy game from LucasArts.
Yeah.
But when you had a fight, it was turned into like a real-time, like an actual fighting game.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked what they were trying to do with it, but the load time was like a minute between like battles and everything. We took for like half your time was spent watching the load screen. So I was always thought if you could get the game to work on like a modern Xbox and cut that load time down to almost nothing, it would be a really cool experience.
Yeah.
But I don't know if anyone's ever going to touch Wrath Unleashed again. But
I mean, there's still tons of Atari 2600 games from Activision that aren't even released in this.
Yeah, where's Cosmic Arc?
There's tons. Like, it was one of the most prolific developers of Atari 2600.
I would again argue
Barnstormer, that was Activision.
I would again
River
argue,
Raid.
River Raid is all right. I would again argue that the number of Atari 2600 games that are still worth playing today are countable on one hand.
Yeah.
Going to the back catalog beyond that is, I mean, MechWarrior 2, great game if you can stand looking at it today. But again, the fact that they're doing MechWarrior gives hope that maybe those original Xbox Mech Assault games might get rescued at some point. Those were fun.
I just like that this is happening. That Microsoft is like, okay, we have all this stuff that we paid for. Let's start figuring out how to do something with it.
Work with Capcom and get Steel Battalion out again, you cowards.
Yeah, seriously. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but...
People would buy that shit.
They probably would.
Better than paying hundreds of bucks for the... I have that in my garage. I wonder if it still
How much is it worth?
Hundreds.
Hundreds?
With the controller and everything?
Yeah,
hundreds.
Yeah, it should be.
I would say like $200-300.
Because it was what, $150 when it came out?
Something like that. It's probably more. I haven't looked why would I need to look
right.
and have it? But I do regret not buying the Line of Contact box. I just got the game. I didn't get the one with the controller, and I should have gotten the one with the controller because it has different colors.
Right.
It was blue, and the other one was green.
Right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
And having a backup wouldn't be too bad. I haven't dragged that out in years. I should pull that out and see if it still works.
It probably does.
Probably.
You would think, because it's in your garage, it's dry and cool in there.
Yeah, it's still in the box. So.
Yeah, it should be fine. All right, next up in the lightning round, we only got a couple more to go. Ubisoft has started hiring for a brand new AAA Rayman game. My question to you, Matt, is should it be side-scrolling or should it be a 3D platformer?
I don't think it matters because it's not going to matter. It's
Why?
not going to move the needle. It's not going to save the company. You shouldn't be putting resources into Rayman.
Would just be selfish as someone. Well, I do. I enjoy Rayman. I don't know if you do.
I like
actually.
Rayman, but I don't think it's not gonna do anything of note.
I want a 3D platformer Rayman. That N64 3D platformer is incredible.
My favorite Rayman is 2.
Rayman 2: The Great Escape. Is that right?
Yeah, on the Dreamcast.
Yeah,
I thought
it's even better on Dreamcast.
Better on the Dreamcast.
Yeah,
but like, no, I would actually.
It was great.
I would actually prefer Rayman 2 remake.
But, a remake,
a remaster or something.
Yeah,
just to play it on modern.
Because that game is kind of god tier.
Yeah,
it was one of the best 3D platformers.
It's so good. I don't even really have any vitriol for murdering Rocket Robot on Wheels by coming out the same day from the same publisher. You idiots!
They had a colored cart too, didn't they? Rayman.
Yeah, it was
because Rocket was red.
It was green.
And Rayman was green.
And Rocket was red.
Yeah.
And back in the day, the colored cart was like, oh, this is
big
a special
deal.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah. There wasn't many of them. Yeah, Zelda. If you pre-ordered, you got the gold cart.
Yeah, Zelda, Donkey Kong. There was a couple of trash games that had like
Donkey Kong 64 was yellow.
It was yellow.
Yeah.
Banana yellow. Mm-hmm. And there was a couple blue ones. Armorines was black.
That's
Turok
right.
was black.
Turok 2 was black. Yeah.
The Turok 2 and beyond were black.
Yeah, they all were. Yeah.
Except not the first one, but like at some point they're like, we got to go edgy. A couple. I think one of the Maddens was blue.
Was it? I don't remember
so.
that.
A couple of the sports games were blue. I spent a lot of time in 1998-99 staring at N64 games in the used game cabinets at that store I worked in. So
yeah,
I
believe
remember
you.
those.
I want
the Bond Nightfire was blue.
That's right. Yeah. I want a 3D platformer, and I'll take a new one. You're right. It might be a better idea to remake the old one because it's so good. I don't know if Ubi can still make a great 3D platformer in 2025.
Well, even if you do make a great side-scrolling game, no one cares. Prince of Persia.
Yeah, it'll just... I mean, I think your only shot at kind of reviving the franchise is with the 3D platform.
Yeah, and I would argue that that's what AAA means,
right?
In terms of this, like a successor to Rayman 2 is really the only thing worth even attempting with this IP right now.
Yeah, I mean, they should make Rayman 3 if they're going to make a new one. Yeah, for sure. We'll see what they do, but I hope they make a 3D platformer because the last one was really freaking good. Next up in the lightning round, final Switch story of the week. We found out this week. Well, we found out, was it a week ago or 2 weeks ago? We learned a lot more about the mouse controls on the new Joy-Con. And then this week, we learn that you can actually use any mouse that you want to with Switch 2. You don't have to use the awkward, weird Joy-Con mouse. You can plug any USB mouse into Switch 2, and it will work. So, yeah, I'm never using the Joy-Con as a mouse, like, ever. Like, I'll try it with Metroid Prime 4 for like 5 minutes, and then I'm done.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess I'm never gonna use anything as a mouse.
Yeah, unless they come out with some great like strategy game that's like first party or whatever, which that's not gonna happen. So yeah, I'm probably never gonna use a mouse with Switch 2 anyway. But if I do, I will use a USB mouse. And the funny part is like Nintendo has not announced this. This came out via Koei Tecmo, who was doing a demo for like some Romance of the Three Kingdoms things for Switch 2, and just offhand mentioned that like you can use a normal mouse for this as well. And people were like, what? Like,
yeah, I mean, it does sound like maybe you have to put that in the game. Like,
the actual code, you think?
Yeah, I think maybe
specifically?
you need to develop for a mouse in addition
I didn't pick up on that.
I mean, that sounded like what he was saying to me. Like, it's saying like, well, you can use it in this game. I don't know if it means it's universal, which I think would make sense. Like, you'd have to.
Yeah, I mean, you should have to do something.
You'd have to do something. You have to implement at least like the fucking drivers or something.
You wouldn't think that the code would be different for the Switch or for the Joy-Con mouse controls.
Well,
versus
it's different for everything. Like, you have to test the actual mouse one way or the other, and I'm sure it's different to use an actual mouse than it is to use the Joy-Cons. Is that? So I would imagine that is something you'd have to put some actual effort into.
Yeah. Probably not much,
but at least you can.
Some.
The fact that to know that you can do it, that a company that doesn't feel the Joy-Cons are sufficient could put real mouse support in is good.
I think any developer that is going to use the Joy-Con as a mouse will have the code for a normal USB.
I would definitely because it's not who doesn't have a mouse laying around?
Right.
Like, just,
yeah. And most people would rather use a normal mouse than those weird.
Sure.
I don't even still don't even, to me that's the whole idea is crazy. But anyway, you won't have to worry about it. It looks like you'll be able to just use whatever mouse you have that's a USB. Next up, just 2 stories to go in the lightning round. So there was a big blowout this week, Matt, of Warhammer 40K games. Which one caught your eye, and why is it Bolt Gun 2?
Oh, it is not Bolt Gun 2 at all.
No?
It is absolutely the Dawn of War remaster.
The remaster of the first Dawn of War.
The best Warhammer game ever made.
Yeah, it really is, yeah. I can't believe it took them this long to do
Specifically Dark Crusade.
Yeah.
Dark Crusade is the best. I mean, I wonder if they'll fix some of the issues with Soulstorm's campaign. But Dark Crusade has the best. Here's a map. You have to take over the map, and you play it like a strategy game, and then you have to play out a game. The real time, the RTS battle.
Yeah.
And like it's persistent, and you keep the buildings of the place you've taken over, and they give you bonuses, and it's so good. I have played. I am not kidding. 300 hours of Dark Crusade's campaign.
Wow,
it is
that's incredible.
It is that and Rise of Nations are my 2 favorite RTSs of all time, and it is because both of them have that same conquest style mode. Because Rise of Nations has a similar conquest style mode.
Well, I was happy about Bolt Gun 2 because I like Bolt Gun 1, which is like a 40K Doom clone, basically.
Yeah, well, actually, the thing I liked about that was the Bolt Gun typing game they released.
Which is what we're seeing right now. Yeah, why aren't there more games like this?
I don't. Well, probably because they don't work on console very well.
Right. Oh, that's a good point.
But I've loved these weird violent typing games
of the Dead.
I mean, I think this is a really fun thing to do.
Yeah, and this was Shadow launched.
Shadow drop for free.
Yeah,
like you just go grab it. It's it's cool.
Yeah,
it's a nice thing. And then we got a remaster of Space Marine 1, which is good because I tried to play Space Marine 1 in the run up to Space Marine 2, and that's rough.
It's kind of old now.
It is very old. I mean, I did previews and interviews for that back at G4, so that's how old. That's 13, 14 years ago.
Yeah,
a long time ago. And then they showed some of the DLC for Rogue Trader, which I loaded up again, and because I'm like, it's been a while, I want to try. I had to start Rogue Trader over because I couldn't remember anything worked. But I got through the first the first solar system, first star system. Sorry, that's not only we live in the solar system. But that game's huge.
Yeah,
that game's so once you get out of that first star system and you can go anywhere in the it's like you can go dozens of stars, dozens of places. That game's real good, and I liked it more this time because I wasn't coming off the back of Baldur's Gate 3 and being kind of disappointed by how primitive it felt in comparison in terms of narrative storytelling. I was like, no, now it works better, and the combat system is kind of a streamlined version of Pathfinder, and Rogue Trader's really good. They got another big story DLC coming next month, so keep an eye on that one. I don't know why they decided to suddenly just go Warhammer crazy this week, but I was like, cool.
They also announced a Diablo clone called Heresy. That looks pretty damn good. So, yeah, they just went crazy with Warhammer 40K games.
Where's my remaster of Fire Warrior?
Yeah.
From the PS2.
Yep. And then our final story for this week's Lightning Round. I told you we had a bunch of stories. It was a crazy news week. And I didn't think this was a big deal, but people on SIFTD let me know that this was a big deal. And that is that Sony has ended the PlayStation Stars loyalty program. They announced it I haven't heard anyone talk about it.
I don't even know what that is.
It's like a points program where you buy games and you get points back that you can use to buy games. And like, I didn't think anybody used it. They did. Like, tons of people on Sifted were like, no, I was using the crap out of that. I got a bunch of free stuff from that. So to PlayStation fans, it was kind of a big deal. To me, I almost forgot it even existed.
I didn't even know
they launched it.
I buy stuff on PlayStation. Did I get points for that?
I think you had to be a part of the setup with the plan before you get
that's why I'm not going to do all this extra shit. Like, come on.
So anyway, if you are someone who is using that plan, it is going away. I think they're sunsetting it in like a year, so you will have time to spend your points or whatever, but just a public service announcement. If you have been using that points program, it's going away. Go check it out. There is an article on Sifted. You can find it that gives all the details. But yeah, that system is going away, and I don't think they're even replacing it with like some other program.
Not yet, no.
Yeah, but anyway, there you go. Unfortunately, it's going away.
Maybe they are, and they're just never going to tell anyone.
Maybe. I don't know. All right, that's it for the lightning round, which means there's just one thing left to do. That's right, Sifters. It's time for Name That Game Tune, brought to you by Soundwizardry.com. The wizards in audio, the wizards in game audio, podcast audio, film audio, Foley work, anything you can think of where audio is involved, they're amazing at it. Games, obviously, are their forte. They have worked on multiple Game of the Year winners, multiple Game of the Year contenders. They're working on a super secret project right now that they can't tell me about. They work on big stuff. If you need any audio work, go to soundwizardry.com. They can work on anything and make any project that you're working on sing. Go to soundwizardry.com, hit them up, work with them. They are awesome people, great people to work with. You will not regret it. And Name That Game Tune is a fun little game we play here on GameFace, where I play 5 samples from a video game, audio samples, and you try to guess the name of the game before Matt. Matt has been on a tear, so you better be on your toes. A couple things before we get going. If you have won this calendar year, do not play. You can only win once every calendar year. 2, if you do not play PC games, please do not play, because if you win, you will get a free PC game. We want to make sure that that's going to a home that will actually use it. And then finally, the chat goes into slow mode while we're playing, which means you can only enter a chat once every 60 seconds. Don't spam the chat with a bunch of random game titles. You will lose. I promise you. All right, Matt, let me get your headphones turned up here and ready to go. Let me bring up the Name That Game Tune interface, brought to you by Soundwizardry.com. Matt, are you ready to play Name That Game Tune? Mm-hmm. Are you ready to play? Here comes the first sample in 3, 2, 1. I'm only going to play that one once. Blades of Steel, no. Warhawk, no.
Resident Evil 4.
No. Uncharted 4, no. The Last of Us Part 1, no. Nope, it wasn't. I already did that one. Remember the gun? Mm-hmm. I did that already. Gears of War, no. Yakuza 6, no. BBB Sound Effects Volume 4. That may be right, actually, but no. Days Gone, no. That's funny, Swan Senpai. Wolfenstein The New Order, no. All different guesses. Titanfall, no. Halo 3, no. Battlefield World War II, no. From Call of Duty, 1. Left 4 Dead 2, no. Try to spell this stuff out. Obviously, I know what you're talking about, but try to spell it out if you can. Any other guesses? Sewer Shark, no. Evil Within, no. The Last of Us Remastered Game of the Year Edition Anniversary. Nope. From Chillax Broseph. Any last guesses?
Silent Hill 2.
No. Not Silent Hill 2. PUBG, no. Doom 2016, no. Returnal, no.
It's both a generic and a unique shotgun sound.
Yep. Any last guesses before we go to the second sample? Going once. Going twice. Okay, here we go. Here's the second sample. In 3, 2, 1. I'll play that one again. Far Cry 4, no. Bulletstorm, no. Nope, someone already guessed Doom 2016. And that's a no. Darksiders, no. Ghost Runner, no. Good guess, Jamrain, but no.
Cyberpunk 2077.
Nope. Fortnite, no. Resistance 3, no.
I did not remotely get 2077 out there. What? Hearing my own voice back in my ears.
You can't do it. You can't talk and do it. Dave the Diver, no. Resistance Fall of Man, no. Gears 5, no. Power Slave, no. Space Marine, no. That would be sneaky of me, though. Mass Effect, no. Halo Infinite, no. Haze, no. Wow. Too Quick Capri.
Yeah.
What a pull.
Why don't you just put Fuse in there while you're at it?
Star Wars Outlaws, no. Any more guesses on that second one? Going once. Going twice. All right, here we go to sample 3. In 3, 2, 1. Someone's going to get it on this, I think. We'll see. Star Wars Outlaws, no. I already said no to that one.
Immortals of Avium.
No. That's a good guess, though. Crisis 2, no. I really thought someone would get it from this. Swan Senpai must know it. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, no. Killzone 3, no. 2 Ratchet & Clank Rift Aparts. Crackdown 3, no. Deus Ex, Human Revolution, no. Leisure Suit Larry 7, Love for Sale, no. Rift Apart, no. Deus Ex Mankind Divided, no. 2 Deus Ex guesses right there. Come on, people, you gotta get it. Lost Planet 2, no. Hitman, no. Here we go again. These last 2 are obvious. You guys have to get it from these last 2 samples.
The Division.
No. Choo Choo Rocket, no. Dazzle 369. I don't even remember what Choo Choo Rocket sounded
It's a
like.
Sega puzzle game on the Dreamcast.
I know what it is. I just don't remember what it sounded like.
I remember the song jingle from the commercial.
Yeah. Split Fiction, no. MGS5, no. We're going to make it to the 4th sample again, it looks like. Going once. Going twice. Okay, all I'm going to say is get your fingers on the keyboard. Because I really think... Mag, no, that's not it either. I really think someone's going to get it from this one. So get ready to type. In 3, 2, 1.
Attention. First blood.
Broforce, no. Saints Row 3, no. Unreal Tournament, no. Half-Life, no. Concord, no. Dang. Doom Eternal, no. The Finals, no. System Shock 2, no. Mass Effect, no. Not System Shock. People are all over the System Shock for this one. Holy moly. We may not get it again. Splitgate. That would be really slimy of me, but no, it's not Splitgate.
Quake 3.
No. I'm going to play that again.
Attention. First blood.
BioShock, no. We have a winner. There it is. Jay Pelot. It is Apex Legends.
I haven't played that since the first month it came out.
Yeah. And just to show you guys the game is legit, here's the 5th one. And there you go. Congrats, Jay Palat. Awesome job. Hit me up here on Twitch if you want to. You can DM me on SIFTD. I'm at Shane. You can DM me on Twitter. I'm at Denfire there. You can DM me on Blue Sky. I'm Shane Satterfield. Get at me. You know how to get at me. And we'll get your free game out to you. And congratulations on winning.
No sound on the last one, they said.
Oh, really? That's weird. Well, I turned your headphones down already. Really? There's nothing there?
It's tough.
That's hilarious. Well, I'm glad somebody got it on the 4th one if the 5th sample got screwed up. I don't know how that
they said there it is, and now it's loud. Okay. Well, you're never happy.
Why didn't it play the last time?
I don't know.
I did the same thing. Weird. Anyway, congratulations, Jay Palat. And get at me, and we'll get you your free PC game. And that's going to wrap things up for GameFace episode 435. Thanks to everybody who showed up on a Wednesday instead of a Tuesday to hang out with us. Our chat was just as killer as it always is. You guys are freaking awesome. If you want to support us, please head to patreon.com/sifted. That's SIFTD. Head on over there for $4 a month. You get all our content early. You get this show 4 days early, Pack Your Factor a week early, Ashley and Anything a week early. You get a really good little buffer there if you're one of our patrons. It is absolutely worth it to be our patron. If you don't have any money, you can help us at Patreon. If you are an Amazon Prime subscriber, you can give us a free $2.50 every month, and you do have to re-up it every month. You hear us talking about Twitch Prime on the show all the time. That's what we're talking about. If you're watching on YouTube, please go down below right now and learn how to do that. If you don't have any money, that's a good way to keep us going. And then if you don't have any money, don't have Amazon Prime, just like the show, comment on the show. Right now, comment on the show. Great podcast. Shane sucks. I don't care. The comments are what matter to go into the algorithm so we can get out there and more people can discover our show, because I know if they do, they will love GameFace. I think you guys believe that too. So thanks to everybody who's doing that, by the way. We have a couple people who are really out there. Bachby, I don't know if he's on the chat right now, but he's out there. He is an evangelist for Sifted. He is out there just posting comments, even on YouTube videos that he doesn't even watch. He's just out there trying to help us. We appreciate all that stuff very much. You can do a lot of damage just on social media. Just sharing the show, liking the show, leaving comments. All that stuff matters. It can help us grow. We'd appreciate it very much. So anyway, that's it for GameFace 435. We'll see you next Thursday for the 10th anniversary celebration of Sifted and the next episode of GameFace. And then
as I wait to see if the Switch 2 shows up in the mail while we're doing this.
I mean, I'm just here's the thing, like, I'm not even going to be home. If Nintendo sends me my Switch and it's sitting at my door, that's bad.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it all goes. After our show next Thursday for the 10th anniversary, which is Switch's launch day, then E3 is here. So from this point forward until for the next 6 weeks, it's going to be rocking here on
E3's shambling corpse that we call Summer Games Fest.
Yeah, but it's still big news. I mean, tons of reveals, tons of looks at stuff. We're going to see Resident Evil 9 for the first time,
but
probably.
There's no awards. How will we know what's good?
Touche. Anyway, thanks everybody for showing up on a Wednesday. We appreciate it. Thanks for being a little flexible with us. And for next week, when we'll be back on next Thursday, have yourselves a great week filled with great games. GameFace is up and out.